Good to be back. I got, can I say, blown back into town? Holy mackerel. The wind over the, I mean, that's the big topic weather-wise, is the wind has been absolutely brutal over the last 24 hours and continues to be. So I tell you what, I don't know about you, but last night lost power for a while. I'm a light sleeper, so when the power goes out and you hear that little, that little click and your house goes dead, I heard that. So I woke up and turned my phone on and was watching the weather a little bit and looking for all the alerts. And We Energies, they send out text messages. If you're familiar with this, they send out text messages where problems are. And so they estimated my return to power like 5 hours later. They had it back up and running, to their credit, because it was just an abominable night. But sat there and watched, rewatched part of the Packers game from Sunday on my phone while I was kind of just laying there awake, waiting for the power to come back on. And it has been a brutal day, for lack of a better term. It's garbage cans are all over the place. Trees are down. So hopefully in your area, you don't have many problems, many issues. But if you do, hopefully we get you through. The next 4 hours, and you get a chance to hang in there with us. Welcome to the program. We are glad to be here. I am Bill Michaels, Ben Kenny, who's been doing a lot of Ben. So let me ask you this: who all filled in and when?
So Dave Carney did it on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, it was myself and Grant Bills.
Okay, so thank you to all you guys for helping out. It was a tough weekend. Went down, started in Chicago, saw a few friends, which is a whole other story. Have you been to Chicago lately?
I have. I was there 2 weeks ago.
It's like a different world, isn't it? First of all, we walked Michigan Avenue just to do a little Christmas shopping on our way into Cincinnati. I was going to see my kids, my grandkids and such. So I thought we'd, walk Michigan Avenue and do a little shopping. We went down to the Christmas Kringle place, which was overwhelmingly packed. You couldn't get in. The line was wrapped around two buildings and two city blocks. But we started walking, and the stench, and I am not a fogey when it comes to pot, okay? Never really did it as a kid. Never really did it in college. I think I've smoked pot, admittedly, maybe 3 times my whole life, okay? So it's not like I'm a user. I don't condemn people who do, whatever. Okay. If you do it for medicinal purposes, whatever, but the stench of pot, because a lot of that's legal now, the medicinal anyway, is overwhelming as you stand on city corners, overwhelming for people that are just smoking it out in the open. That was the first thing you notice when you get out and you start walking Michigan Avenue. The second thing is, the mask Nazis are like vigilant. You walk in and, like we had our masks, because I know down there you have to wear a mask in indoor spaces, but we had our mask, and, as you walk in, you're pulling your mask up. I walked into a Walgreens and was tracked down by the police because I was taking a drink of I had gotten a hot chocolate. I was taking a drink of my hot chocolate as I walked through the door. And as I walked over to the garbage can to throw the hot chocolate away, I'm putting my mask up, and the guy came over and literally grabbed my arm and started yelling at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? I said, my mask is right here. He's like, you didn't get it up quick enough. I mean, the trip was horrible into Chicago. I won't go back there until everything's back to normal. And then obviously the trip into Cincinnati was not for the most, auspicious of purposes, to lay my father to rest, and which was great. It was great to see a lot of people from the old neighborhood. It was good to see so many friends and have so much support, but that's not the easiest of things either. And I'll tell you this, when they do the military burial, because I pretty much held it together, but when they do the military burial and then they come over and present, because the eldest son usually gets the flag. And when they came over and did the military burial, and then they come over the Army, my dad was in the Army, when they come over with the folded flag, and then they hand you the flag, and then they go through the kind of their words, what it is they say. Oh my God, that's when myself, Kristen, everybody there was just, we were just a mess. But after that, everybody does the after burial dinner get together, and we had a lot of good stories and a lot of good memories. So it wasn't an awful trip, but it was down there for not the reasons you wanted it to be. So anyway, back today after taking a couple of days off. We drove back yesterday morning, got back into town, listened to a little bit of the show, you and Grant. And by the way, tonight we're going to be at Curly's Waterfront Pub. I got to say that because we haven't been advertising it, but and I just found out Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill in Pewaukee. We're going to be there tonight. The Bill Michaels Huddle, myself, and I don't know who. So if Ebo's running around, let Ebo know. He's going to join me. So because it didn't even dawn on me. I just had so many other things going on. It didn't even dawn on me, but we'll be there tonight. I'll be there tonight. So come on by and say hello and hang out with us. I want to get into a lot of different stuff. First of all, does Maurice Drayton still have a job, Ben? Special teams coach?
Last time I checked.
Okay. For the first time in 22 years of covering the Green Bay Packers, I did not watch the game. Sunday night was a gathering with my kids, my grandkids, a few friends, close friends. They did a dinner for us. So, I mean, I was on in the background of the restaurant, but it just didn't, I wasn't able to pay attention to it. So I had to go back and watch it when I got back yesterday. Angela says, how do you listen to the show when you're gone? I didn't see it on YouTube. It is on an app. Go to Wisconsin. What is it? Just download the app on your phone. If you go to like your Play Store or whatever it happens to be, Google Play, Apple Store, whatever it is, just download that and you're good to go.
It's also MadCitySportsZone.com.
MadCitySportsZone.com. You can probably find the link on my website, TheBillMichaels.com. So there's plenty of ways to find the link, and you can just download it on your phone. So I was listening coming back. I had it plugged into my car. But what's that?
No, I
was paying attention. Every now and then I'll check in, but I didn't get a chance to actually sit down and watch the game. And two big things started hitting me on Twitter, and I didn't tweet anything. I was completely gone. I had ghosted everything. I just wanted to put social media away for the most part. And two things hit me. One was the amount of anger about the special teams. And the second thing is, what in the hell did Chris Collinsworth say in defense of Aaron Rodgers? Because those were the two things trending huge. I mean, even friends of mine who know, I mean, I've known Chris for years and years and years. I worked with him at WLW in Cincinnati before he went big and I moved here. And I've always respected him as an analyst. I think he's one of the best. Him and Tony Romo are probably the two best analysts. But what did he say in regards to Aaron Rodgers? Now, the only thing I've seen is the NFL's replay of the game, the All-22. I have not seen the actual broadcast of the game. Did he say something like in defense of Aaron Rodgers and vaccination or something?
What I heard, he was talking about him returning next year and his attitude and how much fun he was having playing football.
Okay.
It was one of those, we talked to him for 20 minutes before the game in our prep meeting. We can't really say anything, but I thought that he seemed happy.
It was interesting because it was something that was trending about Rodgers and then something about the immunization stuff. And I don't know. I still haven't heard it. I got to go back and watch the entire broadcast, but
I think he also said that no one has been more honest this season than Aaron Rodgers.
No, he didn't. Really?
I didn't catch it live. I was in with Ebo before we did the postgame show and the audio wasn't all the way up, but that's what I saw people talking about.
Dan just says it's because he said that Rodgers was, quote, brutally honest. Oh my God. See, like I said, I really appreciate Collinsworth and his analyzation because he does really, really well. But if he said that, man, that's indefensible. You can't do that. Can't say that. I have to go back and listen to it. But if that's what he said, then yeah, no wonder people were going crazy. Oh, you have the audio? Okay. Well, let's hear what Collinsworth had to say about Aaron Rodgers.
He doesn't care. No. I mean, have you seen a guy, and in particular this year, be more honest about everything you feel? You may not agree.
Okay, when he says this year, be more honest, is he referring to everything that went on in the offseason when he did that 30-minute dissertation or 45-minute dissertation at the beginning of training camp, and he's been honest about the thoughts and feelings, or are we talking about the immunization? Because the immunization's a whole other thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was the only bite that I could find on it.
Okay. Because if he was talking about the honesty of just the season, 100%, I'll agree with that. But the immunization stuff, that would be, you can't say that, because we all know what happened. Not to go back and revisit that, but you can't. But that was the reason, because people went crazy. It was between the bad special teams, which I am now, after watching the special teams, Mo Drayton can go up and pound the podium and talk about all the hard ass stuff he wants to. They suck. And that's going to end up costing them in the postseason. Their special teams suck. The kickoff that went out of bounds, the return for a touchdown. It was just a comedy of errors. Just awful. Their special teams just flat out suck. And no amount of coach pound and coach speak and hard ass talk and we're going to fix it and none of that's going to make this team better. There is something innately wrong with special teams. Now, I understand you've been depleted, you lost a lot of players, but so have other teams, and they can still cover a damn kickoff. I don't know what else to say. It's maddening to watch, and I think now we are to the point where a kick, say a field goal, or a punt return, or a kickoff return from your opponent is now an area where we hold our breath. It has to be, because they suck. They just look like they don't know what they're doing. They're not staying in lanes. They're not fundamentally sound. And for a defense that plays fundamentally so well and is one of the best at initial contact tackles in the National Football League, they flat out suck when it comes to special teams and arm tackles and just giving up lanes. It's maddening how bad they are. Either the scheme is too complex, you have, which I want to believe that, or you just have players that don't ball out for it. But there is one area that you can excel as a player. You can make a name for yourself as a player. You can keep your job as a player, and that's on special teams. And my God, they're terrible. And that is, more than anything, that is going to be what costs them in the postseason. If they're going to lose a game, it's because it's going to be because the tide changes due to the ineptitude of Maurice Drayton's special teams. There's no way. I'm sorry. I don't sit here very often and start calling for coaches' heads. I've done it a couple of times. But don't you think at this point, I'm not saying to fire the guy, but he's got to be on the hot seat. This was a year in which Matt LaFleur was going to dedicate more starters to special teams. Special teams were going to be corrected. They were changing out personnel. They were changing out coaches. And they have just been an absolute freaking hot mess of a special teams unit from beginning to end. I mean, there's no area, special teams wise, that is sheltered at this point. Maybe the punting game, maybe punting, because that's been pretty good. Bojorquez has been one unbelievable find. Beyond that, it's been a mess, an absolute positive mess. So I want to get more into that. The phone number is 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, do it. You can find me on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. If you want to get a hold of us there. You can also find us over on Facebook, facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. Watch every day and subscribe for free on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. There's Twitch TV. You can find me, and simply email the program, thebillmichaels thebillmichaels@gmail.com. That's thebillmichaels@gmail.com. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson. They have got a lot of good gift ideas right now for the Harley lover in your life. If you're looking for a last-minute gift idea, a gift card always makes a great stocking stuffer. Check out Wisconsin Harley-Davidson, Highway 67, just south of 94. You can see it right off the highway in Oconomowoc. Stop in, tell our buddy Craig, the GM there, we said hello. More of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Get a good feeling, yeah.
Glad to have you back. There's one other thing I want to go over, and that caught my attention on Sunday night was the atmosphere at Lambeau Field. And I have never had so many people reach out to me. And there were people that forgot where I was and such. And look, I appreciate that. I had a lot of friends and people that went to Lambeau, were at the game and touched base with me on Monday morning and said, "Oh my God, the atmosphere was amazing." What made Lambeau Field different on Sunday night versus other games? What made Lambeau Field different this past Sunday night versus other games? It seemed like that was the talk. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was because the weather was okay. I mean, you're talking about December, mid-December, and you've yet to have an absolute frozen game. We haven't had that high wind, 20 below wind chill. We haven't had any of that. So what made Sunday so awesome? By the way, got to say hi to my buddy Mike, who is in the hospital. And my God, recovering from heart failure. So, Mike, I don't know all the details, man, but hang in there, buddy. Can't lose you yet. You can't go before I do. I think you're younger than I am. So hang in there, pal. Send our prayers to you. Be thinking about you. But what made Lambeau Field so spectacular on Sunday night? That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. So Jennifer says, was at the game, and I agree with you. Special teams stink. Every time there was a ball in the air from a kicker or a punter, my husband was groaning out loud, saying, oh, no, watch this. And sure enough, big returns against our guys. What is wrong with this team? Why do they keep hiring these coaches who can't get the job done? How long has it been since we've had a special teams unit that we were proud of? Whew. Where that's a great question. It's been a long time since we've had consistency. I mean, if you had a really good kick game, you didn't have a return game. If you had a good return game, you didn't have a great kicking game. The punting game was okay. You know, it's been bad. I was to put it. It just is. The bridge teams have been lackluster. I know the struggles of Mason Crosby. The fact that you've got returners who can't hang on to the foot, who can't catch a punt. They can't catch. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I couldn't do it. Have you ever tried to catch a punt floating high in the air when some of these punters are able to do these Australian pooch punts that float like knuckleballs? So I'm not saying I could do it, but it's done consistently throughout the league and nowhere near this bad. Where's Tyler Ervin, for God's sakes? This is from Lucia. Lucia says, do the Green Bay Packers remain as the top dog in the NFC after DeAndre Hopkins goes down? How about that? DeAndre Hopkins having a season-ending surgery. So the Cardinals now without their best receiver. Kyler Murray now having to look more to A.J. Green, Tyler Ertz, and such, and that run game, because their number one receiver in DeAndre Hopkins done for the year.
Could come back in the playoffs if they get deep. He could. Can they win a couple of games without him? That's the question. Are they able to win without him? And the Packers, I mean, coming up this weekend, I expect Aaron Rodgers, and not that I want to get too deep into a preview just yet. We'll talk more about this with Charchian, but when I started looking at the numbers, I think there's 4 out of the last 5 quarterbacks to face the Ravens have been able to throw for multiple touchdowns. So I would expect at least 2 or 3 out of Aaron Rodgers this coming weekend. That secondary is decimated. Their secondary is just bad right now, and they're just beat up. I mean, that's the reason why, but they got a lot of issues in that secondary. So we'll see. Jimmy Smith back there, Tavon Young back there as well. They've got Anthony Averett, their left corner. So they've got some issues back there. They got a lot of guys that are all banged up on that team. So I would expect, dare we say the Packers should be favored to win this game and should win this game? I thought this would be the toughest game for them. And now I will say this, if indeed the Packers special teams play the way they did on Sunday night, they have a shot at losing the game. They can lose to anybody at that point. but this team just offensively, they just look good. They don't have anybody on that team to be able to cover Devante Adams consistently. Nobody.
4.5-point favorites right now.
They should be. 877-867-1670. The Packers not only are the top team in the NFC, but I think the Packers are the top team in the NFL. Like I said, the only thing, their Achilles heel right now, and we all know it, it's the special teams, and that's what's going to cost them in the postseason if they don't fix it. And why, at this point in time, would you think in any stretch of the imagination that they're going to fix it? It's been problematic. It has sucked all season. It is going to suck into the postseason. What you have to hope for is that the offense is so good that they continually score and get up double digits, double scores, so that a gaffe here or there will not ultimately cost this team. Or that this team doesn't give up points. They can maybe allow the field position to change, but they don't actually give up points the way they did consistently on Sunday night. That was embarrassing. Mo Drayton should be completely embarrassed. And when he goes to the podium, he should go to the podium and just say, I don't know. Don't give me all your hard ass. Well, we're going to fix it. And I feel bad for this guy. And no, I feel bad for you because you're going to be out of work. You and your family are going to be moving somewhere else. You're going to be out of work. At this rate, you stink. No other way to put it. 877-867-1670. Want to find us? Please do it. This is from Alexander, who says, I believe that Chris Collinsworth was talking about the overall honesty of Aaron Rodgers, and people went crazy about the immunization discussion. People just want to paint Rodgers and Collinsworth in a bad light. I mean, there's people that like Collinsworth and there's people that don't. Okay. And if you don't, you're going to find reason not to like him anyway. It's just like people with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and Tony Romo and Jim Nantz or whatever. I mean, if you don't like a guy, you're going to find a reason not to like a guy. But I didn't hear the discussion in its entirety. I'll go back and maybe listen to it later on tonight into tomorrow's show. So we'll see. But I like the analyzation part. I think him and Al Michaels do a tremendous job. Chris is very descriptive in what he shows you on the telestrator. So you understand what guys are doing, where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing. So you know what to look for. It educates you. If I walk away from a broadcast and I'm smarter because of it, I feel good about that analyst. So I usually do that. But yeah, if he was talking about the immunization, absolutely. If he was talking about just the overall honesty of the season, well, that's a whole different story. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. This one's from Anthony, who says, hey, Bill, have you been to the American Family Field light display? Good to have you back. No, I have not. Not yet. I might be able to make it down there next week. Might. I got a lot going on, but I might be able to get down there next week. And then Jake says, you haven't mentioned it yet. What are your thoughts on Urban Meyer being fired? I will say this, two things. First and foremost, I said from the very beginning, this was not a good idea. Urban Meyer was not a head coach in the NFL. He was never suited to be a head coach in the NFL. Said it from the beginning. Did I not, Ben?
Oh, you did.
I knew this was going to be a failure. I'm surprised that he got fired mid-season when all this came out. I thought for sure he'd get, because I looked at it this way. If he was going to get fired or try to force himself out or want to leave, he was going to try to do that when the Notre Dame job came open. And then when he was emphatic about staying in Jacksonville and such, I thought, okay, maybe he's just going to dedicate himself to it. This kind of stuff, Lombardo talking about the Lombard or Lombardo. What was the
Lambeau.
Okay, Lambeau. I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. When Lambeau comes out and says that he kicked him, I don't think he, took a one-step drop kick to the beans. I think he maybe kind of gave him a kick in the rear end while he was stretching, and it wasn't something that was meant to be, hurtful. It was probably one of those, kicking you in the rear end, make your kicks. But nevertheless, I mean, just you're in preseason. Urban Meyer, I mean, come on, man. He cannot. Urban Meyers was never suited to go to the NFL, and one of the main reasons why is because his ego is way too big. As a head coach in the NFL, you got to put your ego aside. You got to put it aside. Now, guys like Belichick and such, they have an ego, they can do certain things, but they still take the brunt for the player, if that makes sense. They still just say, we got to do better. We got to do this. I got to do this. Urban Meyer was never going to do that. He was always going to point out somebody else's fault, and he was never, this Jacksonville team, those guys blemished his record. That's the way he looked at it. He never took it upon himself to say, hey, I'm in way over my head. I need help. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need new windows.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho,
Come on, Santa. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Replace your leaky windows and doors now so you and Mrs. Claus can get in on 5 years, no interest, plus 5 months, no first payment.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, my elves install year-round in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
And get this, a 2020 survey rated Pella Windows #1 for highest value, highest quality, and most preferred by Green Bay and Milwaukee homeowners.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Pella now, pay later.
Absolutely, but only through December 31st.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or call 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See show for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Glad you're here. Thanks so much. As always, we certainly appreciate you listening to the program. Happy holidays to all of you as well. As we effort forward to the rest of the show today, we got Paul Charchian coming up today. We got he's going to be joining us. We'll do some fantasy football today. We are going to hear from a host of people, including Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur from yesterday. Some words from Devante Adams as well. So that's going to be coming up. And maybe talk a little bit more. Urban Meyer's, by the way, Urban Meyer, and I said this in the last segment, and I've been saying it, he was never cut out to be a head coach in the NFL. And there's an article in Sports Illustrated. On the afternoon this summer, Urban Meyer was a special guest at a luncheon at the stadium with one of the Jaguars' largest corporate sponsors. For about 20 minutes, they said he gave a speech about leadership. Like the entirety of his brief 11-month tenure in Jacksonville was based wholly on his past coaching success. And the theme of the speech was trust with his players, which is ironic because that's the reason the Jaguars let him go. Urban Meyer, you can snow and blow smoke up the ass of college kids and their parents. You can't do it to those that have made it into the NFL. And that's what he tried to do. He was bigger than the game. I'm Urban Meyer. I can do what I want. And you can't do. Now, Matt LaFleur now has cachet. Okay. He still is very much a humble player's coach, but he's starting to get a little bit of swag. He's starting to get that cachet. Urban Meyer never earned that. He never got that. You got to go through the trials and tribulations of being a head coach in the NFL to get the respect to begin with, and then you can start to work on your cachet and your swagger. Urban Meyer never had that. And that's the problem. When a lot of these coaches, when they get NFL head coaching jobs, usually they're coming from an NFL team. So when they get that job, they've already got a little bit of that, I've been in this level locker room cachet. They've been a coordinator, or they've been a really good assistant or an assistant head coach, what have you. When you come out of the college ranks, most guys in NFL locker rooms are sitting back in their lockers with their arms folded going, you got to show me something, cat. And Urban Meyer walked in with all the pomposity and arrogance of a successful college coach, which is the reason Nick Saban never made it, which is the reason Chip Kelly never made it, because they had a lot of success and they were too arrogant to be able to bring themselves down to say, okay, guys, I'm going to learn through you and you can learn through me and we're going to help each other. He came in as, I'm going to delegate. I'm not going to work as hard. You're going to see me not work as hard, but you're going to respect me. That doesn't work that way, especially for guys making more money than you. This isn't a bunch of kids that you can scare, that you can say, if you don't like it here, jump into the transfer portal and you're going to lose a year of your life. That's what Urban Meyer brings you. And that's the reason he didn't succeed. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Chris says, boy, the winds last night, we were blowing like Urban Meyer on a bad Friday night at a bar nearby. I love it, Chris. By the way, hey, how many videos? Ben, now you did the morning show with Ebo today, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second half of it.
How many videos did you guys see on Facebook today of trampolines flying through the air?
Oh, well, zero. I don't really go on Facebook, but Ebo posted his own. We're in the middle of the show. Someone comes in and says, hey, Ebo, you have to move your car. There's a big piece of aluminum falling from the roof, swinging, and it's about to impale your vehicle. So we had to run out and move it.
Okay.
It's happening here, too.
I did get that note. I saw that via the company email. I think Leah sent it out. So I did see that, but I didn't realize that's what it was. I just saw the note to park on the other side of the parking lot or what have you. But
yeah, it's on Ebo's Twitter.
Okay. But yeah, there was 3 or 4 videos of trampolines flying through the air. If you own, well, maybe it's owned because it's the past tense now because you can't find it. But if you owned a trampoline and you did not either one, have that thing completely secure, or two, just had taken it apart last night knowing this was coming, or tied it to a house or something, yeah, you're you're probably waking up today going, what the hell? Where'd that go? A friend of mine took a video, and I have to find it, but a friend of mine took a video and they posted it. And it was a trampoline flying past their yard. And it was probably about 3 to 6 feet off the ground. But it flew over the entirety of his yard and hit the neighbor's yard, rolled kind of up on its end, and then picked up again and kept going. Now, I lost it, once he gets past the trees. But, yeah, if you had one of those trampolines in your backyard, man, oh, man, not good. Not good. 877-867-1670. This is from Michael, who says, the special teams for the Green Bay Packers need to change. At what point do they actually hire a special teams coach? Is it just the coach or is it the players? I think it's a combination. But when you don't have successful special teams and you fire the special teams coach, but you want to keep continuity, so you hire the assistant better be beyond special with new ideas and new ability to get through to the guys that are actually running special teams. Otherwise, don't stick with what sucks. And I'm not saying that coach sucks, but philosophically speaking, you can't continually do the same thing. You just can't. You can't do it. Completely get rid of it, completely change it up. And that's what's maddening. Gave Mo Drayton a chance. This year has been a train wreck. An absolute train wreck. Clarence said, did you see President Biden saying, tell that quarterback to get an immune? Yeah, I did. I saw that. You know what? And to me, who cares? It doesn't have anything to do with the Packers situation. Skip says, does Aaron Rodgers still have the top spot in the MVP race? That's a great question, Skip. I would say at this point, yes. I mean, just statistically speaking.
Brady is the favorite in Vegas.
Brady's having a hell of a season. There's no doubt about it. Brady's not dealing with the same level of injuries, though. He's just not. Rodgers they continually get beat up. But, I mean, Brady against Buffalo, give him credit. Had a really good game. 31 of 46, 363. I think a couple of touchdowns if I remember. And his quarterback rating again was up over 100. Again. So give him all the credit in the world for what he's doing and for what he's doing at his age, which is another reason when people talk about, well, Rodgers going to get thrown down by Father Time, you better look out. The man threw for 4 touchdowns. The man had a quarterback rating of 141. Aaron Rodgers did. Tom Brady's still getting it done. Why do people think that Aaron Rodgers is so less physical a player than Tom Brady? He emulates Tom Brady. He follows Brady. He does what Brady does. Why would we think he's not going to play at least until he's 41 or 42? It's crazy. Crazy. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free. I mean, I'm energized today. I feel good after not being on the air for a few days, more than a few days, actually. Come back all wound up. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Need to get away this winter? Then it's time to plan one at Pine Mountain Resort, the Upper Peninsula's premier ski resort. Pine Mountain Resort is the #1 rated ski resort in Michigan and Wisconsin. Stay in one of the newly renovated rooms at the lodge and take on the mountain, or just sit by the fire in the bar. The Pine Mountain Ski Jump is the tallest man-made ski jump in North America. Take advantage of their ski and stay packages from 1 to 4 nights, or get a season-long pass available now. Book online today at PineMountainResort.com. That's PineMountainResort.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers holding practice, working on a game plan to face the Baltimore Ravens Sunday at 3:25. Aaron Rodgers sat out practice again, and he talked about when he re-aggravated that fractured toe injury in the Bears game on Sunday night.
I feel like there was a tackle, and going back and watching the tape, it seemed like there was a tackle in the first quarter that I remember that bothered me for sure. It was a 3rd and long, and I got kind of tackled from the side. And it seemed like after that, I kind of had some pain, the rest of the game. It's a toe, so there's only so many things you can do. A lot of it's just icing and contrast and heating, and there's not a whole lot you can do. It's a bone stem and different things. So, I'd like to get out there to practice. To me, other than Friday, it doesn't seem like a strong possibility. We'll see when I wake up in the morning.
Jordan Love is back at practice and ran the team at quarterback after missing last week with COVID. Several key players and coaches in the NFL are out this week because of the coronavirus. Last year, the Ravens had to postpone their game against the Steelers when 30 of their players and coaches had tested positive. Head coach John Harbaugh.
We're following all the COVID protocols that the NFL's put forth 100%. I'd say 120%. We've been extra cautious. We separate guys whenever we think there's any possibility of anything. You just do the best you can. We've been through it before, challenging it, and that's where we're at.
Then there's game after testing positive, but now he's back. How does he feel?
Great. Phenomenal. 2 bye weeks. It's been awesome.
That's Packers tight end coach Justin Newton. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for
Welcome back. Christmas time. Glad to have you. Mariah Carey. All I want for Christmas is you. Good stuff. Putting you in the spirit. This is from Chad. Chad says, I agree with you. Special teams stink. They need to change things and completely clean house. Losing breeds losing. I've said that for years. But I've said that about the overall existence of the Cincinnati Bengals. When I left there in 1999, my last season was the 1998 season, covering the Cincinnati Bengals. And when I was just home this past weekend, a friend of mine came over to me and we were talking a little bit, and he said, they're getting better and this and that. And I said, you know what? The Bengals have made me so much money this year because they can't handle success. And I said, the one thing that Mike Brown has done for me in my career has made me look brilliant. And he said, how so? And I said, because the day I left here, I said, the Bengals will never win a Super Bowl with Mike Brown as the owner. Never. Because he just doesn't know how to run an organization. He has enough pieces to make you believe, but goes on the cheap in so many other areas. And it takes an organization with great players, great circumstances, good facilities, everything to win a championship. And Mike Brown's an idiot. So 877-867-1670. By the way, Eugene Frenette, columnist for the Florida Times Union down in Jacksonville, going to join us next. We're going to talk with him a little bit about Urban Meyer and just about the overall situation down there, from hiring the old Iowa strength and conditioning coach, one of his buddies, to come and be the strength and conditioning coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and which was a train wreck, because after that was when all the right before that was when all the racist allegations came out, and he wasn't really accepted in the Jacksonville Jaguar family, and then he had to let him go, and then it's been a massive failure down there in Jacksonville. And we'll talk more about that coming up after the top of the hour. This portion of the program, by the way, brought to you by our good friends, and Mike Clemens reports brought to you by our good friends at the Bay Motel Green Bay. Bay Motel Green Bay, quiet, cozy, and comfortable. And don't forget, they're perfect for a family stay. So if you're going to go visit grandma or grandpa up in the Green Bay area, place to go. Good stuff. You go to the Bay Family Restaurant featuring home-style cooking 7 days a week. Maybe they're doing some turkey, some gravy, some stuffing right around the Christmas holiday. The Bay Motel on South Military Avenue in Green Bay. Call them today for reservations, 920-494-3441, 920-494-3441, or check them out online. Go to baymotelgreenbay.com. That is baymotelgreenbay.com, and see for yourself everything that they have to offer. So we're going to talk some Urban Meyer. Also, a little bit later on in the program, our buddy Andrew Brandt from the Business of Sports podcast going to be joining us. He's going to come back and talk about Urban Meyer. We'll talk about this Green Bay Packers team a little bit. Also, there's a lot of speculation that continues to rear its ugly head about whether or not Rodgers will or will not remain with the Green Bay Packers. My preference is, obviously, for Aaron Rodgers to remain with the Packers, but my preference is, before we get into the speculation about will he or will he not be a Green Bay Packer, I choose to enjoy what's happening before us right now. I choose to just enjoy the season, because if I get too wrapped up into what may or may not be, it begins to bother me. Because if it's the may not be, really begins to bother me. Jimmy Johnson said something very interesting today as well. I'm going to talk about a little bit later on in the program. I was listening to Jimmy Johnson this morning, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame coach. He was doing, I think it was the Dan Patrick show today, and I was listening to that too. And he had said something rather interesting, and I wanted to get into that also, because I think there's some legitimacy there. So we'll talk about that as well. We got a lot to get to. I can't believe an hour is down already. Don't forget, coming up tonight, it's the Bill Michaels Huddle, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Going to be at Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill out in Pewaukee on the lakefront. Come on by and say hi. That'll be 6 to 8 later on tonight. So we still have 3 more hours of the program coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Last night saw the Wisconsin Badger basketball team play without their star Johnny Davis, who was out with an illness, as they welcomed in the Colonels of Nichols State at the Kohl Center. Now the Badgers, who were trailing by 9 at halftime and having a poor first half of shooting, turned it around in the second half by going on a 16-0 run and crashing the boards to win 71-68. Bucky improved to 9-2 on the year and will return to action December 31st at the Kohl Center against Morgan State. To the NFL, with the Green Bay Packers preparing to go to Baltimore to take on the Ravens on Sunday, there was a surprise at practice. All-Pro left tackle David Bakhtiari was there and listed as a limited participant. Here's more from Aaron Rodgers.
And I think he's in a lot better place now than when he was trying to come back the first time. So that's exciting. He seems to be, feeling a lot better with his knee and his recovery. And yeah, it'd be great to have him back.
Rodgers himself also sat out with his toe injury.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the third largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Last night saw the Milwaukee Bucks play without their stars Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, so Drew Holiday picked up the slack, scoring 26 points and having 14 assists, while the Deer beat the Indiana Pacers 114-99. And finally, yesterday saw the start of the NCAA's early signing period. Wisconsin football added a host of new faces. 14 scholarship players signed in a class that ranks 44th in the country and 11th in the Big Ten. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome back, one and all. Hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Show. And for those of you just joining us on the network, welcome to the program. Bill Michaels Show continues on. A lot going on. We're going to stay into the recap of the Packers and Bears from Sunday night coming up as well. We'll start to preview what's about to happen in Baltimore. We've got fantasy football later on today with the Charge. We've also got Andrew Brandt, the business of sports, coming up here in about 40 minutes from now. Stay tuned for that. But we got our buddy Gene Frenette, the columnist for Florida Times-Union down in Jacksonville. And joining us on the line, Urban Meyer, fired as the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. Gene, first of all, thanks for taking some time. I had said from the beginning, I didn't think Urban Meyer was ever cut out to be a head coach in the NFL because he cannot leave his ego at the door. Is that ultimately what did him in?
It's certainly partially of what did it in, no question about that. When he was hired, the only positive thing I had to say about the hire was that from a marketing standpoint for Northeast Florida, between him and Trevor Lawrence, you had a marketing bonanza. You had an anchor for your season ticket campaign with those two. Now, the flip side of that is that Urban has never spent a day in the NFL, and I did have a lot of people tell me that he would have difficulty adjusting to the NFL world. It's not like the college football world, and boy, did that prove to be accurate.
So I guess at what point, why did they just say enough's enough?
Well, it's a lot of different things. It's only a small part of it really is the 2-11 record, because a lot of first-year coaches struggle, right? I mean, it's not like we're not seeing other first-year coaches in the NFL struggle a lot, right? You got the team they're tied with 2-11 has also got a first-year coach in Cully in Houston. You got Robert Saleh with the New York Jets. His team is 3-10. So this is not anything, like out of the ordinary, particularly with the roster that he had, and considering this was a 1-15 team last year. Meyer got fired because there were so many bad optics connected to his 11-month tenure. I mean, just terrible judgments, missteps. Broken down relations in some respects, I would say. I don't know if broken down is the right word to use, but certainly some very testy, awkward relationships with assistant coaches and players. And so it was all of that. And then I think the tipping point, I know a lot of people are going to associate the tipping point with, kicker Josh Lambeau making his, accusations about Meyer kicking him in the leg. And of course, all this came out yesterday. But, the bottom line is Khan knew about this for 3 months. I mean, Josh Lambeau, through his agent, had reported the incident to the Jaguars the day after it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the team acknowledges that he did do that. So the team was aware. This wasn't like anything new. It was new to us, the public, but it wasn't new to the team. But I think Sunday's game against the Tennessee Titans certainly had to give Shad Khan a lot of pause. Not because they didn't score in the game, although that certainly is a concern. But it was just the whole vibe of the game, and Meyer's vibe. The sub-zero freezing temperature handshake with Mike Vrabel, which was lampooned, of course, on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Getting up in the press conference and with the awkward denials of the Tom Pelissero NFL Network report about assistant coach, about Meyer, belittling assistant coaches about their resume compared to his, and also getting into a heated exchange with receiver Marvin Jones, who threatened to leave the facility, and even yesterday Marvin issued what I would call the most tepid of denials ever. He didn't get specific about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, Urban was talking about somehow the subject in the post-game press conference on Sunday turned to leaks of information, right, out that sources, and then he made the offhanded comment, if we ever have a source like that in our building, he'll be gone, within seconds. And it was just to me, it was a very cringeworthy comment for a head coach to make who's 2-11, just got beat 20-0, just kind of, venting about a hypothetical situation. If we find out a coach or somebody employee is leaking information, they'll be gone within seconds. All those things taken together, I think kind of hit a little bit of a tipping point for Shad Khan. And I know a lot of people, like I said, will make the connection with Josh Lambeau, because it happened, his firing happened literally hours after that story came out.
Talking with Gene Frenette, column.
I was told.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was told that was not that Lambeau's public story in the Tampa Bay Times and then to the TV station in Jacksonville late last night had very little, if any, factor influence in the decision, because it really had already been made.
Talking with Gene Frenette, columnist for the Florida Times Union down in Jacksonville. And one of the things that I thought from the very beginning, I mean, even going back to the incident where he did not fly home with the team and some of the things that you mentioned, he's a guy that threatens kids by saying, look, if you don't like it, lose a year of your life, go into the transfer portal and get the hell out of here. So he can belittle kids. He can bully kids. He can bully programs in college. You can't do that with grown-ass men who make 2-3 times what you do. And he, as a college coach, I don't care what you've won. Nick Saban failed. Everybody in that locker room sits with folded arms saying, show me something. And I don't think he ever earned anybody's respect. Even when he was caught on mic going back to the Hard Knocks show with Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys, when he walked in and he said, this is like preparing for Alabama every week. And then he talked about the amount of hours that you had to put in. I thought that's right there, the opening chink in the armor, so to speak, to say, look, this guy just doesn't have what it takes to be an NFL head coach.
Yeah. I will correct you on one thing. There aren't any players in that locker room that are making 2 or 3 times fired.
Maybe that's he was getting paid pretty. What happens with
well, that's going to be a total unknown, and probably unless somebody who's involved with those contract talks on either side leaks information. We're not going to know. We're not going to know that. We don't know. I don't even know if Shad will attempt to not pay him the full amount. Maybe citing the whole. You could make an argument that the situation with Josh Lambeau is tantamount to workplace bullying if his version of the events are true, and that could maybe be used as a talking point in some sort of settlement or compromise or what have you. So long answer short, I don't know whether Urban Meyer is going to collect the full amount of the remaining part of his salary, which might be $40 million, 35, 45, not to mention any assistant coaches who are on multi-year deals who will not be back next year.
The question everybody's asking today is, will he coach again? And, you cover the guy. Look, I think still there's a program out there that's going to be in the college ranks that's going to say, bring it, because this guy's had nothing but success, even with the risk of putting your program at risk because of some of the things some of the shadowy things that have followed him. So do you believe he's going to coach again?
That's a good question. If I'm a betting man, I'm going to go no. I don't think there certainly won't be an NFL team that'll hire him. Not after this unmitigated disaster.
No.
And keep in mind this too, the incident in Ohio, right? He's captured on video, getting too cozy with this young woman that wasn't his wife. Okay, that kind of thing. I had a former Power 5 athletic director tell me that kind of thing would have got him fired on the spot in college. Florida State, Ohio, whatever, it would have got him fired on the spot. So I mentioned that in the context of, is he going to resurface again? I think he's going to need some time, and I think because he's not going to resurface at he's not going to resurface at Furman or at you know what I mean. If he's going to resurface, and he's going to resurface at a place where he thinks he can win and contend for a national title, right? So it's going to be a high-profile Power 5 program or it's going to be nothing. So, and there's going to be some good. Probably there was a lot open this year.
Right.
He might have gone back to college at with the the LSU job and USC jobs open and Notre Dame open. This was the year, right?
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see moving forward because he's 57 years old. Not that that's old by coaching standards, but Urban waited and waited and waited for the right opportunity in the NFL. He thought Jacksonville was it because you had Trevor Lawrence coming in as the number 1 draft pick. You had all this salary cap space. You had you were in pretty good stead with the draft, getting extra picks. So it was kind of a planet aligning situation in his mind. And you had an owner who loved him. I mean, Shad Khan had a man crush on Urban Meyer. So, it pained him to have to fire him, but he knew that the optics were so bad, he didn't really have much choice.
So now what direction does Jacksonville go in?
Well, it's they haven't even had time to start a coaching search yet. Here's what's going to happen. The same suspects of these names is going to get thrown out. It's going to be Byron Leftwich, the Bucs offensive coordinator, the former Jaguars quarterback. His name will get tossed out there. I'm sure Eric Bieniemy will go into the speculation bin. Kellen Moore, the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, I think the defensive coordinator with the Bills. I think you'll see his name in there. I'm trying to think of guys though that have head coaching experience. None of those guys I mentioned have NFL head coaching experience. So, I don't know. Does a Marvin Lewis get back in the game? He had a pretty good record over his time with Cincinnati. He didn't win playoff games, but, considering that he worked for, one of the least supportive NFL owners in sports and went to the playoffs 4 or 5 years in a row, that's a pretty good resume right there. Just look at what Shad has done. He's made 4 coaching hires. Okay. He hired Mike Mularkey, who lasted just 1 year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He hired Gus Bradley, who was a defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, never had been a head coach before. He hired Doug Marrone, who had been a head coach before with the Buffalo Bills for 2 years before he opted out of his contract. And he got hired based on really going 1-1 in 2 interim games after Gus Bradley got fired in 2016, and then he hired Meyer, who was a ultra successful college head coach who had never set foot in the NFL. So you have 4 coaches with completely different resumes that he's hired so far, and none of them have worked. So he's 0 for 4. And, he can't afford to have a golden sombrero, right?
Right.
To use an old baseball term. So, you just gotta keep swinging. That's all you can do. I mean, people accuse Shad Khan of being disconnected to the football team because he's a global businessman. He's always traveling. He only spends about 90 to 100 days a year in Jacksonville, and he's either on his boat or in a hotel. So, he doesn't have a good track record for hiring coaches, but he's going to, but there's nobody else to do the hiring, unless you just hire a GM and say, hey, you pick the coach,
mm-hmm.
which is what he did with Dean Smith the first time, right?
Right.
It's what he did with Dave Caldwell, who handpicked Gus Bradley. Well, so he's done that twice, and that hasn't worked. So nothing he's done in terms of hiring has worked. The business side, he's hired some good people that have made the business side work, but the football side is a poor hiring, poor track record of hiring.
How much do you think Darrell Bevell has a shot at keeping that job as the head coach?
About 0.00001.
Okay.
If they hired Darrell Bevell, I think the fans would organize a huge protest outside of TIAA Bank Field. I mean, this is the offensive coordinator who's operating an offense that's averaged 9 points a game the last 6 weeks. So let's say he beats the Texans this Sunday, which is certainly plausible, right? I mean, the Texans are pretty bad, and maybe maybe next week against the Jets. That might be their other best shot to win a game. Let's just say for argument's sake, he goes 2-2. Okay.
Yep.
You know what I call that? I call that fool's gold, because it has nothing to do with how you foresee the future. It's too small a sample size. The sample size you've got right now is 2-11 with a horrific offense and a promising generational rookie quarterback who's regressing. So if the Jaguars turn around and go 2-2, and does that all of a sudden, wipe away all the sins of this offense for the most of the year? Yeah, I would have my doubts about that.
Gene?
It would not go over well if they hired Darrell Bevel. Let's put it that way.
Great stuff, man. I appreciate all the insight. Thanks so much for joining us and taking some time out of a very busy day, okay?
Okay.
Appreciate it, pal. Talk to you soon. There you go. Gene Frenette, columnist for the Florida Times, Union, Jacksonville.com, and good stuff. Just kind of, it's the picture he paints is, and then fill in the blank. And if you just want to say a Jacksonville Jaguars train wreck, you would probably be correct. 877-867-1670. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And they have it going on to the end of the month. 5 years, no interest, 5 months, no first payment, which means you get past the holiday bills. And we all know, how was your house last night? If your house leaks air in any way, shape, or form last night, I'm sure you felt it. How was last night? My house, you could hear it, and maybe the house creaked a little bit, but it wasn't coming in the windows and doors. I'll tell you that right now. And I was actually a little bit amazed that the patio doors, when I would let Elmo out last night, the minute I closed the door, that was it. No wind, no howl, no nothing. Didn't feel anything. And it was in the mid 60s. It was nice. I left the patio door open just a crack last night for a little bit with the screen door, just to let some fresh air in. I think a lot of people did that yesterday. And it was the minute I closed and locked that door, it was like waterproof. It was like a submarine, man. Nothing's getting in. It was great. I swear by these windows and doors. I always have. All you got to do is call or go to the Experience Center in Green Bay, in Brookfield, which is just west of Milwaukee, or out in Madison. Go to the Pella Experience Center and check it out for yourself. Pella Windows and Doors, custom measure, custom manufacture, assemble, then install. They're fantastic people. All you got to do is go to PellaWI.com. That is Pella, P-E-L-L-A, PellaWI.com, or call them 855-PELLA-WI. That's 855-PELLA-WI, the best windows and doors for your money in all of the window and door field. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready?
Now live.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. I said, hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to the program. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Glad to have you. Good stuff on Urban Meyer, man. You talk about a train wreck. Nobody likes this. Stay after the whole assistant coach beating his wife, domestic violence, issues, if you want to call them that. I mean, they're much more severe than that, but he came out of that situation and looked bad, but he got out. He got out with his reputation. And he took another ding, but he was still a winning head coach. He was just saying, it's time. It's time to step away. He knew that stuff was starting to roll downhill. And then after that, when he took the job, when he was at Fox, he was somewhat comical. He was good to watch. He was insightful. And then after that, taking this job, he was completely exposed. I was listening to, and I don't even know what station it was, but he was labeled, I mean, as bluntly as you can possibly put it, he was labeled a liar and a fraud. And one of the, it's terrible. I can't remember. I think it might have been Paul Feinbaum who said he was a fraud and labeled it that way and said that, basically his assistant coaches do all the work. He is very good at delegating for the most part, but beyond that, he's not much of a head coach, and his ability to actually coach was exposed, which is the reason he was called a fraud. So he walked away from this particular situation with his tail between his legs. Now, will his ego allow him to accept a job that is far less than what he felt he deserved, being the Notre Dame job, the USC job, or any other job like that of that ilk that comes about? So we'll wait and see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, give us a shout. Again, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout there you go. We're going to have Andrew Brandt coming up here in just a little while, so we just hang in there. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes from now. Andrew Brandt of the the Business of Sports podcast, former, as I've said time and again, former capologist, if you will, for the Green Bay Packers. So he is going to be joining us. We'll talk a little bit more about the Urban Meyer situation. This is from Mark, and Mark says, Urban Meyer, do you think he's going to end up back at Ohio State? No way. No way. He's not going to end up back there.
Andrew says the same thing. He says, any chance Ryan Day leaves for the NFL and then Urban Meyer ends up back at Ohio State? No, I don't see that happening. Can't see it. No. I can't see him taking a job without a legit crack at possibly getting to a national title so he can rebuild himself again. But I can't see him getting one of the premier programs. I mean, at this point, he would never get the Notre Dame job. Notre Dame they would have to swallow everything they believe in to have hired, him at Notre Dame. So Notre Dame, that's, I think, the reason they just felt, no, we're not going after Urban Meyer. After the whole incident with him and the girl in the bar, there's a lot of, as Gene said earlier, there's a lot of athletic directors that are like, you know what, that's just a bad look. We, can't do that. And there's been a lot of guys that have done some stupid things in that realm, and they have to go elsewhere to a smaller institution, rebuild themselves, and then get hired back again and kind of work themselves back into the Power Five. And Meyer might have to do. Now, the guy's been paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Somebody's going to call him. But I think Urban Meyer is going to have to swallow his pride and either take a lesser job or never coach again. When we come back, we'll get back into some Packers chatter as well. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show to get to. We are also going to hear from Aaron Rodgers, some of the things that he had to say yesterday. This portion of the program brought to you by a couple of good people. Our friends at Dwayne's Cover It All. Dwayne's Cover It All, Wisconsin's best canvas upholstery and best boat cover provider out there. All you got to do is call my buddy Dwayne, 715-870-2119, 715-870-2119. You can check them out on Facebook or just get a good look at them at their website, Dwayne's, D-U-A-N-E-S, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. Hey, if you're going to go someplace to watch the game this weekend, or any game for that matter, as NFL games begin on Saturday night this week, go to Stenny, second to National Walker's Point, Milwaukee's best sports bar with award-winning Bloody Marys and shuttles to all the games. Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badgers, Admirals, Marquette, UWM, they've got it. So stop down to Stenny's and check it out. They plan a lot of good bus trips. And one more, last but not least, our friends out at Skipper Bud's. I just got back into town yesterday, and I got to get over there because I'm having my engine work done in the off season. I'm going to have a new engine put in my boat. And Ryan and the gang, they're fantastic. So I'm going to get over there and do a little bit of scouting, just because I'm going with a little bit bigger engine, a little more fuel efficient engine. Just my old one just kind of had a little bit of a knock in it. So it was nothing that was detrimental, but the fact that I found another engine and it's more horsepower, bigger, better, so to speak. I just said, you know what, let's pull the trigger on it. So I went ahead and did that. They're going to do the whole thing for me. They do great stuff over there. Ryan's out there in service. Todd's the general manager. Get a hold of him. Go to skipperbuds.com or just call Todd or Ryan, 262-544-1200. That's 262-544-1200. Rick says Marvin Lewis is the kind of coach who could right the ship. However, if I were him, I wouldn't take that job. Jacksonville has been a dumpster fire ever since Tom Coughlin was hired. Yeah, but think about this. Now, do I think Marvin Lewis is going to suddenly make them a Super Bowl contender? No. Okay. But Marvin Lewis he works well with ownership. God knows he did that with Mike Brown and that train wreck of the Cincinnati Bengals. But Marvin Lewis has enough patience and enough respect in a locker room. Jim Caldwell's another one, to be able to move a franchise like that forward. You thought Doug Peterson, right? Right, Ben?
That's who I think they should go after.
At least because he can work with a quarterback.
He's also a polar opposite of Urban Meyer. Players love him.
Yeah.
His only shortcoming was there was stuff within the organization that he didn't want to listen to the GM and the owner.
Yeah.
But I get that part of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you when it comes to being loved in the locker room. Marvin Lewis was in Cincinnati. Yeah. Marvin Lewis was considered a player's coach. Now, Doug Peterson's he's a player's coach, but he's kind of a hard ass. Whereas Marvin Lewis, not that guy. He's more of a massage guy. He's a guy that's going to talk to you. He's a guy that's going to coach you. He's more of a player's coach. He's always on the player's side. He's the kind of guy that can gain a lot of respect in that locker room and kind of bring everybody back to center. But my thought is that Marvin Lewis is the guy that sets it up, that tees it up for the next guy to take him to the next level. but he could at least put respectability back into the organization. Jim Caldwell, the same thing. He would be that same kind of guy. Now, what direction they're going to go, we'll have to wait and see, but he would be that kind of guy. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free. 877-867-1670. This one's from Max, who says, what about Josh McDaniels as the next head coach? See, I don't think Josh McDaniels, even though he's been Bill Belichick's right-hand man when it comes to running the offense, and he's obviously worked with Brady, and he's got a lot of respect in that realm, what he did in Indianapolis doesn't impress anybody. Remember, he took the job and then walked right to the altar with him. Took the job, they were waiting for him at the press conference. And he said, nah, I'm good. And he did not have success hardly at all in Denver. I can't imagine Josh McDaniels being the guy to take over that program to kind of put the train back on the tracks. I just don't think he's the guy to do it. So I think they still I think they still have to go in a different direction. But some of the names that we threw out probably better suited than Josh McDaniels. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a break. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
They don't repair cracked helmets, cracked teeth, or cracked stadium seats. They do repair cracked windshields. Complete Auto Glass, windshield repair and replacement, windshield camera recalibration, and more. An insurance-preferred service provider with free price quotes and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Plus, you'll be happy to know you're dealing with a local, family-owned business who understand their Wisconsin neighbors. Complete Auto Glass, repair and replacement. Visit CompleteAutoGlass.com. Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program, and now we are joined by our buddy Andrew Brandt, the executive director, Morad Center at Villanova, columnist from Sports Illustrated, hosts the Business of Sports podcast, and the Sunday 7 newsletter. So if you want to check all of that out, you can, and follow him there. A lot of insightful stuff, and joining us now on the hotline. And Andrew, this whole Urban Meyer thing, look, I never thought he was suited to become a head coach in the NFL to begin with, just because of the demand that it, 1, hours-wise, and 2, the respect that you have to give players. He didn't seem like he was willing to do that. But how big of a problem do the Jacksonville Jaguars have on their hand right now to be able to pay this guy or not pay this guy?
Yeah, good morning, Bill. I mean, I think this is what happens, and I hate to say it. I mean, you and I are used to a very proud and storied franchise. This is what happens when you have a franchise at the bottom that's desperate. You know, they hire a coach who had great success in college, but there are a lot of skeletons in the closet that maybe they look the other way. Maybe they didn't research enough. Maybe they didn't care. Because, hey, the Jacksonville Jaguars are hiring Urban Meyer. You know, what name coach will go to Jacksonville? So this is what happens, you know, and he comes in, and I think, maybe people disagree with me, I think they needed him more than he needed them. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to just do what I want, making a ton of money. I'm not that crazy about coaching pro football, but what the heck? And this is what happens. You know, now it comes, as everyone knows my saying, with the lawyers. And did they fire him for cause, which means you can get out of paying the rest of the contract. But even if they say that, and even if they point to the left dance, or they point to this or that, the kick, you know, there's going to be lawyers. They'll fight that. And this could take a long time because there's rumors that this is $50 million. And Urban Meyer's not going to walk away from that.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of lawyers, just like there was with John Gruden.
Now, the NFL has a personal conduct policy, and clubs, it says right there, clubs and players are obligated to promptly report any matter that comes to their attention. Obviously, the kick of Josh Lambeau would fall under that. If indeed the Jacksonville Jaguars did not report that claim right away, Are they then in trouble? And then are they even more so on the hook for what Myers would then be seeking as far as his pay that is remaining?
Well, I think those are two separate issues. In terms of on the hook with the league for discipline, perhaps there's a general manager or administrator that Josh Lambeau went to and they kept it in-house or they tried to cover it up. That's a problem for discipline. In terms of money, if I'm Urban Meyer's agent and you're firing me, obviously it's in response to this report yesterday, because why is he fired yesterday and not before? And this happened in training camp and no one got mad at Urban Meyer. Yeah, that's a problem for trying to withhold payment. So two separate issues. Yes, they could be in trouble with the league, or someone there could be. And this could hurt their case for not paying Meyer.
You had mentioned, that Urban Meyer had skeletons in his closet. Is there a league standard for hiring a guy that has issues prior to coming into the league and or being a head coach in that particular, circumstance?
I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of vetting going on, and every hire, we assume the owners are talking to the past from these coaches and talking to other owners and talking to league officials. But this is what happens, as I said a couple minutes ago, when you sort of are a bottom of the, it's a bottom franchise, right? So it's all fun and games to say, hey, you can get this coach, you can get this coach. But what experienced and successful coach is going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars? And I think we all said it. All the people piling on Meyer right now, I think 90% of them were applauding the hire of Urban Meyer. And I may be one of them, because that's what happens when you get yourself where you're such a sad sack franchise. This is what happens.
I can honestly say and proudly say that I was one of the guys that said this is a terrible hire and it's going to end in catastrophe. And I'm surprised he actually lasted this long. I thought when the Notre Dame job came open, he would cough, wiggle his head, and all of a sudden say he's got COVID or something and have to leave, only to take the Notre Dame job. I thought he'd weasel out of that, but he didn't. However, I will say this. When it comes to some of these hires, and the vetting for the Rooney Rule and such, I know the NFL has now become very focused again on making sure that more and more minority candidates are getting true opportunities and not just getting a pat on the head saying, thank you for your name, we'll put that on the resume, you can go away now. Are they becoming more focused in that particular area?
Yeah, again, it sounds so great, but if you got your eyes, Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, had his eyes on Urban Meyer like a high school crush, it doesn't really matter who else he interviews. It happened with Mark Davis and John Gruden. Do we really think anyone else he interviews had a chance? No. So Rooney Rule is sounds good, but it's going to be hard when these owners have their eye on someone and that's their golden ticket. So I don't know how you enforce that. I really don't.
Andrew, you had mentioned John Gruden. Where does that all stand right now? Because I know he's suing the league. I know they're asking for all of these emails. I know they want things opened up so they can kind of reveal what it is they do or do not find and what's going on. We found out that there might have been some harassing and or tampering going on behind the scenes with the owner of the Washington football team. Where does all of that stand right now?
Yeah, well, the attention was with John Gruden turned away from Washington, and now it's been turned back, which is always interesting because whoever leaked the John Gruden emails, it's hard to believe they were so short-sighted they didn't think it would come back on Washington. So that's why I don't think it's someone from Washington that leaked them. But anyway, John Gruden's suing the league for what he called a directed and coordinated campaign to get him out. I think they even used the words mafia-style hit job. And you know what happens with lawsuits? There'll be discovery. They'll take forever, and we'll see what happens. But I said at the moment it happened, Bill, there's no way John Gruden's walking away from, just like Urban Meyer, like $50 million. That's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever he did in resigning, I'm sure he left his legal options open.
Talking with Andrew Brandt. You can get his stuff in the Sunday 7 newsletter. You can find that online and follow him at Andrew Brandt over on Twitter to get all that information. Andrew, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, Jimmy Johnson said something earlier today I thought was interesting when he said you have to start making financial decisions. And they were talking in general, but it's very referenced to what is going on in Green Bay. If you try to keep the quarterback and pay him all the money, you have to let other parts go. And he said it doesn't matter what other parts you have to let go because the quarterback is by far the most important part. So if it comes down to a quarterback and a cornerback or a quarterback and a wide receiver, you always have to favor the quarterback. Do you see the Packers going in the direction of letting Jair go and Devante go and such just to be able to financially make Aaron Rodgers happy?
Yeah, I mean, I know you got to ask, Bill, but I'm just I got all these questions every day about this, and I'm trying to say, hey, guys, let's just hold on until after the season before we get into will Aaron go or stay questions. But I think the premise is right. You know, you look for your most important position, and you have to make tough decisions. But, you know, they do have a franchise tag, and I'm sure you can always find dead weight on your roster if you want to find dead weight and make things happen. But I think the Packers are a direct and developed team. So they're always going to err on the side of building from within rather than quick fixes from without like the LA Rams. And, you know, they're going to focus on a few players to extend and core and bring the development and the youth up through the ranks. So I don't have a solid answer on Aaron. I thought Aaron would be back all this year. I think the plan has been to move on from Aaron next year. Whether that plan is shaken or not, I don't know. I just think, you know, the thing is, Bill, one way or another, they're going to be wrong. So they're going to be wrong if they move Aaron because they're moving the best player in the league. And they're going to be wrong if they keep Aaron because they spent a number 1 draft pick on the same position that won't be playing for 3 years, maybe longer.
Do players, so, Andrew? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
I was just going to ask you real quick. Do players that get of Aaron's ilk or, you know, higher stature like that, do they go to how often, or is it often at all or not at all? Do they go to franchises and say, look, I know I got a contract. Let's tear that up. Let's, you know, I'll take less if you could put more around me, that type of situation. How much or little does that happen, if ever?
Yeah, I mean, people think taking less means taking less money. What most quarterbacks do, Brady, Roethlisberger, Breeze, all these guys, is say, yeah, I'll take less cap. So basically you convert the big salary to bonus and you push out cap, which is kind of a nice gesture, but not really. I mean, you're just pushing out the problem, and it's not a huge deal to do that. You get the same money if you're the quarterback. Now, if Aaron Rodgers says, I'm actually only going to take less cap money, I'm going to take less cash, whatever he's supposed to make, $30 million, and he takes 20 or 25, yeah, that'd be quite a gesture to free up not only cap, but cash to other players.
Andrew, great stuff as always. They can read all about all your stuff and everything that happens to fill the head, so to speak, at the Sunday 7 newsletter. They can go there and subscribe. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate you making some time for us.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, Sunday 7, you go to andrew-brandt.com, and I'm offering a holiday gift for people interested in sports business. I'll be offering classes and daily content if you want to sign up for that as well.
Good stuff. Again, andrew-brandt.com, andrew-brandt.com. Andrew, have a great holiday if we don't talk again, and we'll talk to you after we get to the postseason as well, okay?
Same to you, Bill.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon. Andrew Brandt. Go to andrew-brandt.com. You can subscribe to his Sunday 7 newsletter. You can follow him on Twitter. You can see he's got all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of really good stuff pertaining mainly to the NFL, but there are other things that he kind of comments on, especially when it comes to the Sports of Business podcast as well. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers had a walkthrough practice outdoors getting ready for the Ravens on Sunday. Right tackle Billy Turner left the Bears game with a knee injury. He's been undergoing exams this week. Head coach LaFleur on the possibility of Turner's return.
This season, yeah, I think so, but I think we're still kind of going through everything to see where he's at.
Dennis Kelly filled in for Turner. Kelly was signed by Green Bay after being released by the Titans and had dealt with back issues earlier this season. How did he do at right tackle against Chicago? We asked offensive line coach Adam Stenovich.
Dennis did a very good job, stepped in. Offense didn't miss a beat. I was really pleased with that. He's a pro, and you could see that he was chomping at the bit for the last 5 or 6 weeks now to help out any way that he could.
Left tackle David Bakhtiari back at practice for the first time in a month after having arthroscopic surgery on that knee. Aaron Rodgers.
He's, obviously gone through a lot in his rehab. Definitely some low days for him. And I think he's in a lot better place now than when he was trying to come back the first time.
The Ravens are at 8-5 atop the AFC North, looking to snap a 2-game losing streak. Head coach John Harbaugh on whether Lamar Jackson has a chance to play quarterback despite an ankle injury.
He is. It's day-to-day right now, I would say. Just got to see how it responds day-to-day. He's not going to practice today. We're excited for the challenge in front of us, playing a very good Green Bay Packer team. And led by Aaron Rodgers, obviously. He's going to be back home again, first time in 3 weeks. We're excited about that. And we're preparing for the game as best we can, try to put our best foot forward.
That's Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Well, we got some breaking news. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur coming up here a little bit later on in the program, but Kenny Clark has been added to the COVID list, and that would likely mean that he would not be available for Sunday's game in Baltimore. Doesn't completely rule him out, but it does not look good as it is Thursday. I believe that would pretty much, for the most part, rule him out. But who knows? Jordan Love also getting all of the starters reps today at practice. Aaron Rodgers taking the day off with that toe. So there you go. And Rodgers not practicing again today. Pretty much expected, but nevertheless, there you go. That didn't last long. I mean, we're going to hear from Aaron Rodgers coming up a little bit later on. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur today as well. But we were kind of hoping that toe injury he'd just get through the Bears game, he'd be okay, and things would continue to progress, and then kind of re-injured it, so to speak. So nothing completely detrimental. Obviously, he had a hell of a game, but not going to get a whole lot of work as this season winds down. Packers now have the top spot in the NFC. Top spot in football, for that matter. The best team right now with the top spot in football, the Green Bay Packers. Who'd have thunk it with all the injuries they've had? Now Kenny Clark added to the COVID list. Get your fantasy football questions in now. 877-867-1670. A lot of information about to smack you in the face if you're a fantasy football player. Paul Charchian going to join us next in the Bill Michaels Show.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers would be the top seed in the NFC if the playoffs started today. They don't, though. There's still 4 games left, including Sunday's tilt at Baltimore. So how can the team hold on to that number 1 seed? Here's wide receiver Devante Adams.
Want to come and do the same thing you've been doing that got us to this point. And if anything, just elevate more intensity the way you go about your business. The intent has to be there with everything you do. So I think that's what we're starting to lock in on. Take advantage of some of these Wednesdays when we don't have as much beating up on the body and it's more above the neck. So just really the focus is the biggest part right now. Just keeping up with our bodies because obviously we're so banged up.
There was some good news on the injury front yesterday. Quarterback Jair Alexander began his 2nd week of practice as he tries to return from a shoulder injury that's kept him out since week 4. Tackle David Bakhtiari also out of the field for practice for the first time since having arthroscopic surgery on the same knee in which he tore his ACL last December. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers did not practice due to his toe injury, but there's a chance he could Friday against the Packers and Ravens on Sunday. Turning to the Badgers, they signed 14 players in their 2022 recruiting class yesterday, including the top player in the state in Joe Brunner and the top defensive player in the state in Isaac Ham. Wisconsin going to face Arizona State in the Las Vegas Bowl on December 30th.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
If you're interested in a rewarding career with a strong Wisconsin company, Rural Mutual Insurance is looking to add to their growing team of successful employees and agents. Apply online today at ruralmutual.com/careers.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the shorthanded Bucks beat the Pacers last night. Milwaukee played without Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, but got 26 points and 14 assists from Drew Holiday in the win. And the Badgers beat Nicholls State 71-68. Johnny Davis didn't play due to an illness. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, print.
Oh, we got comings and goings and coaches and bad teams and good teams and all kinds of craziness as we head down the stretch via fantasy football. Big news of the day today is that Kenny Clark is on the COVID list. David Bakhtiari back at practice. We're going to see how he feels, but Kenny Clark on the COVID list and most likely out of this weekend's game against Baltimore. Baltimore's banged up. Their secondary stinks. Aaron Rodgers should have a big game. And now joining us to talk about all of this is our good buddy Paul Charchian. Charge, how you been?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a little down. I can't be expected to perform to my normal standards when I'm deep in the grieving process after Urban Meyer's firing. I mean, what does it say about today's NFL when a man of such unusual character, integrity, and humility can't make it through the first year of his 5-year deal? Apparently, good guys finish last.
Can you raise your hand
it's a tragedy
if you would say you saw this coming? I'm raising mine really high right now, by the way.
I think from the moment he was hired, it was a dubious hire to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get 5 years, $12 million a year.
Yep.
And then to not even make it through one season. Dude's going to make $48 million to not work over the next 4 years, Bill.
I don't know, and you tell me. I still think there's going to be a Power 5 program in the next year or so that's going to come open, and he's going to take it. And they're going to come just begging him to be a part of their organization because they'll take 4 years, 5 years, 7 years of success and one train wreck exit if they can get themselves a national title. Maybe like an Oklahoma, a Texas, somebody like that. Maybe he ends up going in that direction. Do you see that happening?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. I think schools are going to be reticent to rehire Urban Meyer because do you want that character? And just think about the picture of him at the bar. Do you want, with the girl who's shaking her stuff at him? Do you want that as the face of your university? And your head coach is not just your football head coach is not just the face of the football program. He is all of your athletics and even beyond that, the entire university. I mean, most people know exactly what it could know exactly what the head coach looks like. They can't tell you what the dean looks like of the school. They don't know. And so I think schools will be reticent to do it. And then also, he's making $48 million the next 4 years. He doesn't have to work, and he hated it. He would never have any fun. He looked as miserable as anybody doing his job. And I think he's made so much money. I think he's just going to sit back. He's going to go, live on some island and just have fun. I don't think it's going to happen. Do you?
I want to agree with you just because that video was so damning, but I look at programs and I think about, look, they hired Brian Kelly. That guy's as big a sleaze as anybody. And he just went to LSU because they're desperate for a championship. He was at Notre Dame, for God's sakes. The biggest lying creep on the face of the earth, short of Urban Meyer, was at Notre Dame. And they didn't give a damn. So if they're not going to give a damn, I can't imagine any other program in the country giving a damn. Now, Brian Kelly doesn't have necessarily video of him grabbing some girl, between the legs, but they didn't care. So I don't know.
Okay, yeah, but Urban, that's just one incident. There's like a dozen dubious things that Urban Meyer has done throughout his time, going all the way back to Miami. I think his track record is way worse, and his unlikability factor is through the roof. So I don't know. Maybe I just want to believe he won't work again.
Yeah, I think he goes away for a year.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think he's gone for a year, maybe 2, and then he's back because I don't think his ego will allow him to go out like this.
We forget a lot of things a year later, right? In today's social media world, what happened 2 hours ago is old news. But so you're probably right, but I want to believe you're wrong. So tell me this: we got here in Minnesota. Yesterday, I got 60 degrees. I got a tornado. I got 70-mile-an-hour winds, and then I woke up this morning to snow. It was snowing. That was my last 12 hours here in Minnesota. How about you guys?
I got home yesterday and it was 64 here at the house. The wind kicked up. I lost power last night. So I was doing everything via my phone and backup generator that I do have here at the house for the studio. But today I woke up, it's cold. It's not snowing. It's cold, but it's still windy as hell. The tiki bar has been completely almost short of the top of the thing, the bar stools, my garbage. I had old meat from grilling out over the season.
No.
Yeah, that was out. The raccoons were having a feast this morning when I woke up. There's chairs everywhere. I got my parrot is in the neighbor's yard. I mean, there's crap everywhere. But I'm knock on wood, I'm not bad off as some people are. And a buddy of mine showed me a picture or a video of that he caught looking out of his back door when a trampoline about 6 feet off the ground flew from one side of his property to the next.
Wow.
And kept going down the street. So that's where we're at right now. Yeah.
Wow. It's nuts. And weather talk is about as boring as it gets normally, but when you get this, tornadoes, come on.
Right.
That's nuts.
Yep. No doubt.
I never thought we'd see that. Is David Bakhtiari coming back this week?
I don't think he's back this week. I think maybe it might be a Christmas gift if he comes back next week against the Browns. But I think right now what you're trying to do is just get him ready and get him 100% ready to go come the postseason. Maybe the Vikings game or the Lions game, just to get him a little, shot, so to speak, before they get into the postseason. But I don't think he's going to be back this week. The question is, and I'm getting this from everybody, and you probably are as well, who do you go after now that DeAndre Hopkins is done for the season? Who's going to be the next big receiver for the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, A.J. Brown has been shockingly good. I mean, way better than any of us thought. A.J. Green has been good. And, a great matchup this week, by the way. Goes up against the Lions. You can imagine it's a good matchup. You know what's really interesting about him? I don't think I've ever seen this. He runs 88% of his plays on one side of the field, the right side of the field. I can't ever remember a wideout who is so pinned to one spot. And you know where he's going to line up, and it doesn't ever seem to matter. And actually, the Lions is getting a little bit nerdy on us, but too bad. The Lions are on their third cornerback to play that side of the field, nickel Roby Coleman, who's always ever been a slot, but they're forced to play him outside. He's only played one game all year. Last year, he was with the Eagles, and he was so bad they cut him. And now, after being out of the league, he's back and starting. And A.J. Green's sitting on a big game here, I think.
Mark said he has 1 or 2 to start. He said Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford. He said Stafford's been playing better for him and giving him more points. Who would you?
Yeah, so remember ranked quarterback. Name 9.25 out of 10 in my 10-point scoring system. Prescott has had other spots like this one that feel like smash spots, and it hasn't really come together. But man, when I look at all the advantages that Prescott and his receivers have against a terrible Giants secondary that's really struggling, it feels like Prescott should be sitting on a gigantic game. He's hammered the Giants for 3 or 4 touchdowns in 4 of the past 5 games at meetings between these two. And now he's got all the receivers back. Amari Cooper finally healthy. He's got through COVID, got through hamstring injury. Gallup's playing great. CeeDee Lamb's awesome. It's just so many positive matchups. I would take Dak Prescott, but I wouldn't blame anybody for sticking with the hot hand and Matthew Stafford, who has looked awesome 2 straight weeks.
This one's from Anthony, who says Najee Harris has been good for him, and he has been reluctant at times to play Joe Mixon. What about the matchup this weekend?
Well, another one where I've got them ranked 9 and 10. So and graded out identically here too. I've got Harris 1 spot higher. He goes up against the Titans. They're giving up the 4th fewest rushing yards, just 69 per game, on the 8th lowest yards per carry. So I don't love that. Jonathan Taylor struggled to get to 70 rushing yards. But it's always all about volume for Najee Harris because he touches the ball so much. He gets all the carries. They throw to him. And even in what was a blowout for much of last week's game against the Vikings, Harris found himself getting 2 touchdowns and ultimately getting 5 yards per carry. So I still like Harris. Mixon's been struggling with effectiveness and has got a tough matchup of his own against Denver. I've got Harris 1 spot higher.
You had one of the questions that you had, and I thought it was interesting because Justin Herbert's a guy that's been a topic of a lot of conversation, especially for those that have had him as maybe their second quarterback. And he was like on fire to start the season, and since has somewhat cooled off. And as much as I liked what they did against Cincinnati and such, I look at the Chargers now, and I'm kind of like scratching my head. Is he just starting to hit a little bit of a wall, and he's going to have, because this is a big game coming up for them tonight?
Oh, very big game. This is if the Chargers win tonight, Justin Herbert and the Chargers move into a spot where they could massively change their playoff seeding because they'll have a win. They already got one win against Kansas City. They'll have 2 wins against Kansas City. They win that tiebreaker. They move into the same record as Kansas City, and that would be pivotal to win the division and ultimately go from being a low bye week team or a wild card team into a division winning seed. So it's absolutely huge for them. And Herbert has played well. He's had to do it without Keenan Allen, though, last week, who was out with COVID. He gets Keenan Allen back tonight in a great matchup in the slot. He goes up against Mike Hughes and Rashad Fenton for Kansas City, who last week allowed Hunter Renfrow to put up 13 catches and 117 yards from the slot. Keenan Allen is better than Hunter Renfrow, and Renfrow's good, but Keenan Allen's awesome. And so I want to believe he'll be better, that Justin Herbert will play well here. Kansas City's pass defense has improved so much, Bill. The beginning of the year, they were awful. But since week 5, no quarterbacks top 270 yards, and the average game against them is just 232 yards and 1 touchdown per game against Kansas City. So this is a tricky matchup, and Keenan Allen is really the pivot guy. If he can have another big game here, then I like Justin Herbert. And if not, this could be a tricky one.
This was from Mark, who says Travis Kelce or Zach Ertz, and he thinks that because Devondre Hopkins is down, that Zach Ertz is going to get more shot.
So do I, and I have that exact situation where I've got Ertz and Kelce. They are ranked number 4 and number 5 at the tight end position, and I'm going with Zach Ertz. Let's talk about Travis Kelce and how he is killing fantasy teams. Last 2 weeks, this is Travis Kelce, the universally considered best tight end in the league. His last 2 games were both 3 catches, 27 yards, no scores. In fact, he has 1 touchdown in his last 8 games. Travis Kelce. And here come the Chargers. They've only allowed 1 tight end to top 43 yards in the last 7 weeks. This is a tough matchup for Kelce. Meanwhile, it's all the opposite for Ertz. It's a great opportunity against a struggling defense. He gets the Lions, so I mean, it almost goes without saying, right? Ertz has seen 7 red zone targets with the Cardinals already. He's only been there half a season. DeAndre Hopkins is out. They're going to throw him in the end zone. It's a nice opportunity. I like Ertz, and I'm playing him over Kelce, and I don't care where I drafted him. I'm taking the best guy I got.
Hey, got another one for you real quick. Trent wants to know Donta Foreman or Michael Carter.
Donta Foreman is one of my favorite sleepers this week. He goes up against the Steelers. You may have just seen the Vikings run basically untouched through the Steelers all of last week's game. They're giving up the 4th most rushing yards on a league worst 5 yards per carry to opposing running backs. Foreman gets the vast majority of the work. He's one of my favorite sleepers of this week. We'll definitely start him here.
So the whole COVID thing, we know the Browns have been hit hard with it. Teams are starting to really, because we just heard Kenny Clark of the Packers, their nose tackle, not going to be most likely playing this weekend because of it. How much of this, because fantasy owners got to be freaking out over this.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is bad news. So if you're a fantasy owner, this is the one time you really can't just like set your lineup and forget about it. You got to be paying attention like every hour. What's going on with your roster? We just found out Jalen Waddle's not going to. Well, he's now on the COVID list. Presumably will not play. You're going to have to pay so close attention. Look at last Monday night. 3 hours before kickoff, we find out that the Rams starting tight end Tyler Higbee's out, and that could be any player, anytime. So you have to stay on your game. And the way fantasy owners can best manage this, Bill, is get the backups to your starters. If you've got some middling player like Cortland Sutton using a roster spot who you don't plan to start, go get the backups to your stars. Go get Ernest Johnson behind Nick Chubb. Go get Alexander Madison behind Dalvin Cook so that you can pivot to a good player if the worst happens to your starting players.
Good stuff as always, man. There's a bunch of like just train wreck stuff out there right now. You'd mentioned some sleepers and such, and I got another real quick, and this guy says, I need a sleeper at the running back position. Anybody you can recommend?
Yeah, Donta Foreman is my favorite sleeper there. You can pick up Rashad Penny, who looked good for Seattle last week. I mentioned Ernest Johnson earlier. I don't love what this way that the game is shaping up. How about Detroit's running back off the practice squad, Craig Reynolds, who they may have to use again this week. That would be another option. So I hate that it's come to this. Houston is probably going to have to start Royce Drop the Piano Freeman as their starting running back this week. So there's a really deep play that you could use if you have to.
Always good, my friend. Give Roxy a hug. Have a great Christmas. We'll talk to you soon.
I'll do that. I know because of a variety of things, Christmas week, we will not talk next week, but the week after, championship week, and we will talk then.
No doubt. Good stuff, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, pal. There you go. That is our buddy Paul Charchian joining us for a couple of minutes. Follow him at Paul Charchian over on Twitter, and he's got all your good stuff in the Guillotine Leagues as well, guillotineleagues.com. That's guillotineleagues.com. I'm going to hear from Aaron Rodgers coming up a little bit, but Matt LaFleur, we're going to hear from him and his comments today to the media. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Quick Trip. Quick Trip, look, if you're looking for a last minute, gift idea, those Quick Trip gift cards are fantastic. absolutely fantastic. I mean, everybody stops there. Everybody loves Quick Trip. You can get anything there. So get them one of those overall or just maybe the car wash card, but get them one of the overall gift cards, $25, $50, whatever. And whether it's gas or going in and getting bread and milk and some of the hot sandwiches or going to the beer cave, whatever it happens to be, they're great gift cards and great. I love them. Everybody give me one of those. I'll take one of those over anything else. Love me some Quick Trip. Thanks to our friends at Quick Trip. Matt LaFleur talking to the media. The bad news today, Kenny Clark out with COVID. And this is the rest of what he had to say.
And, he's going to do everything he can, and hopefully he'll be out there again today.
What to see from, I realize it was individual and above the head day, or above the head, above the shoulders.
Above the net?
Yeah. Above the head. That'd be a good practice there. What did you see from his limited availability?
Yeah, I thought he did some good things, but like you said, it was just so limited. I mean, we had a 10-minute individual period, so there's not a lot to go on. I just can tell you that he's trying to do everything in his power to get back as quickly as possible.
And what's your thoughts on how Baltimore plays the run so well?
Well, they're big, they're stout, they're physical. They just do a really, really nice job of clogging up your run lanes. And then, they'll hit you with some pressures that can give you some tough looks to run into. So we're going to have to be on top of our game in terms of just IDing what the defense is trying to do to us and make sure that we have answers for it.
Is that why their third down defense is so good? Is it because they put you in tougher second down and third down situations because of the run defense, or is there something else in play there?
Yeah, if you get in third and long against these guys, it's going to be a tough day. I just think that they are so good because they do such a good job of stressing your protections. You can tell these guys work really hard at it. They give you a lot of, I would say, exotic looks, and they do everything from those looks. So it's just a well-designed scheme. They have complementary looks, complementary plays, and sometimes you're guessing on offense. So, but yeah, if you're in those long yardage situations versus defense, it's not going to be good.
Matt, did you guys have any COVID additions like all those other teams are having?
We did. We had one today.
You want to share who that is?
Yeah, Kenny Clark got added to the list.
Yesterday, obviously his work with receivers. How has he impacted this offense, just the quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a major part in the whole planning process in terms of what we're doing more specifically within the pass game. And then, he's the lead on third down. So, he does a great job. He's very thorough. He combs everything, and he's got a great understanding of not only how to coach up wide receivers and the quarterbacks, but has a very, very good understanding of protections and how to try to neutralize some of the things that defenses present you with.
Matt, you guys have faced Travis Kelce on some other good tight ends. What's the challenge that Andrews presents in their offense?
Yeah, he's the guy that you can tell they want to feed him the ball, but I think he's a complete tight end. He's great in the run game. He's great in the pass game, and I just think that their passing game is very complementary to their run game. They're going to use some play actions, and then not to mention they've got other weapons that are pretty explosive players as well. When you talk about Hollywood Brown, Sammy Watkins, Bateman, I mean they've got some players, so it makes it very difficult on your defense.
With your own tight end situation, Mercedes I think made his 200th start on Sunday, and without having Robert, just what has he sort of meant to the offense here with how he sort of stepped up these last few weeks?
Yeah, we've definitely featured him a little bit more in the pass game, that's for sure. No, Mercedes has been doing his thing for a really long time, and everybody, you guys probably don't understand the value that he brings to not only our offense, but our football team. You know, we've talked many times about just the type of leader he is, the type of pro he is, how he just is such a great example for young players, veteran players, of how you handle your business and how you get ready to play on a daily basis. And then it always translates to Sundays, and he does a great job of just owning his responsibilities. And then when given the opportunities in the pass game, he's come up big for us. So, you know, he is a guy that is so valuable to this team and to our success.
You listed all their wide receivers. I think you guys have a guy who knows their wide receiver coach pretty well. Have you sent Amari undercover to get any state secrets this week?
No, you know what? I didn't even think about that till you just said that, Matt. So maybe we'll have to do that now.
Are you giving Jordan all the snaps this week with the ones, or working in Benkert a little bit too, or how are you doing?
No, Jordan will take the ones today.
Oh, you didn't do any 11 on 11 yesterday?
We did not. And Jordan took them all, you know, all the walkthrough reps yesterday.
Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, just one great magic.
Hey, man, just wondering, as you watch Tyler Huntley play a little bit and understanding of Lamar's day-to-day, do you have to do much preparation for both? Is the preparation much different with their offense? Does it look much different given the quarterback situation?
No, I think they got a very similar skill set. I think if you watch last week, just Huntley's ability to bring them back from, I can't remember what they were down by, but they were down a good margin. Was it 24-3 or whatever it was? And he brought them back and gave them an opportunity to win the game. So he's a guy that they made some big plays. I know Bateman had a big day. He can do it with his legs. He can do it through the air. But both he and Lamar are their skill sets and the style of offense that Baltimore wants to play. I don't see it really changing a whole bunch, regardless of which quarterback is in there.
Thank you, guys.
Do you have one?
Kenny's obviously not going to be playing Sunday. Just kind of your plan to fill that role for him.
Yeah, that other guys are going to have to step up, and that's just the world we live in right now. You know, you see it going on throughout the league. A lot of teams are facing the same issues, and the way I look at it is no different than when you have an injury on game day. But not fortunately, but at least you have some preparation time to get the guys the reps that they need. So obviously Slayton's going to play a big role in that, and you know, we'll decide who that fifth guy is. But all of those collectively as a group, our interior D-line are going to have to do a great job when you take a player like that potentially off the field.
There you go. That was Matt LaFleur a little bit earlier today. The news that Kenny Clark out due to COVID. They are hoping to get David Bakhtiari back in the practice field today again after he was there yesterday. I don't think he's going to come back this week, but maybe another week, maybe the Cleveland game, or maybe you just start targeting that game against the Minnesota Vikings back at home, and hopefully you get him a couple of games before you get to the postseason. But that is some good news in that sense. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. When we come back, we also want to hear from the quarterback coming up here in just a little bit. Stay tuned for that. We got a lot more of the Bill Michael Show coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michael Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at New Mail Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders as well. And if you're suffering from that, you know it. Your partner knows it. Somebody make a call. 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. Give them a call. And by the way, so if you're kind of run down, you're dragging, this time of day, you're face first into your computer, you're tired in the truck, you're on the job site, you're like, oh my God, just if you're over the age of 30, could be low testosterone. Your mood is up and down. You're like, why am I just so cranky today? And I know I am, but I don't know why. Could be it. All you got to do is call them. 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. And check it out for yourself. That's our friends from the New Medical Center. And this time of year, you can jumpstart the all-in-one weight loss program as well. That's huge. Again, 414-455-4451. Give them a shout. Lamar Jackson, by the way, did not practice today. Lamar Jackson did not practice today. It's the second straight day he's missed it with that sprained right ankle. So we'll wait and see if indeed he is. You would assume he's going to be able to go. You just don't know how effective he's going to be. But Lamar Jackson not practicing today for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey, some other news. Now, Ben, did you guys cover the, I would assume you did, the signings on commitment day? Some of the Badgers, Marcus Allen, Daryl Peterson, Hunter Wooler, Riley Mallman, all those guys?
No, that was last year's. This is the 2022 group, and they actually picked up another one last night around 6.
So who was the guy that they picked up last night? Because I saw Twitter go crazy.
Isaac Ham, 4-star defensive end.
That was the guy you and I
talked.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that guy. So are you excited with the guy with the haul that they have?
It's tough, right? It's been a really tough and interesting year because first you have COVID that changed the amount of scholarships you're going to have with guys coming back. And then you had their director of player personnel leave when the whole process started. So I do think the result was fine, but there are some things to fix going forward, I think.
I know that there's a lot of eyes on the offense. Did they get anybody that you would say is going to help whomever it is under center?
Definitely they got Joe Brunner, offensive tackle. He's the best offensive player from the state, so he'll help in that way. They got 2 interesting guys. One of them is a safety from Illinois, who the receivers coach at Wisconsin absolutely loves and wants to move him to offense. Then they got an athlete from Pennsylvania who could play all over. I think both of them have kind of been slept on in the recruiting process, and we'll see where they play, but both could end up being weapons on offense.
So you're happy, you're excited. Is this team, in your eyes, better today going into next season and going into spring ball next year?
I mean, all the guys that were committed had been committed for months, so we kind of already knew. But getting Ham was massive. Then there's Carson Hinsman, who is still uncommitted, interior offensive lineman from Hammond, Wisconsin, I believe. I do think they're in a solid spot. They still have work to do in the transfer portal, which I think Paul Christ and them are committed to that way. For the vet bringing a quarter with, I think they're going into next year.
I like what I'm seeing out of the basketball. Even with basketball, by the way, missing some key components, still able to eke out an ugly win. So happy about that as well. Nothing changed there. So Bears-wise, I'm pretty good with. Are you?
Also, biggest news to watch is after the bowl game, who decides to come back? Because we heard big news that Keanu Benton probably will. That'll pretty much dictate how good the defense is. Definitely on that side.
877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. We can certainly chat a little bit about what's going on via the Big Ten. And as far as the Badgers go, for sure. Badgers eking out a win last night, 71-68 in hoops. And Brad Davison, 19 points last night, took a board. I think it was a couple of assists I read when I was reading box scores this morning, but I didn't get a chance to watch much of the game, honestly. But anytime you eke out a win, you just burn the tape, you move on, you continue to win. They're sitting at 9-2. The game against, you and I had talked about this the last time you and I talked, was they were going into the game against Ohio State. It was not a good game by any stretch of the imagination. That was one where you can say, okay, we started to play really, really well. We started to feel good about ourselves. And then Ohio State kind of took it to us. So now you go back and you say, okay, now we got to go backwards and say, 73-55, a knockoff. We weren't ready for the primetime players, so to speak. So you go back and look at a bunch of tape there. Johnny Davis dropped 24, but it was really a game in which the Badgers never really were in that game. They never had momentum. That was kind of watching that game, and I was watching that game on I think it was Saturday, right? Last Saturday. I was sitting in Chicago in a bar in Chicago watching it. And there was no energy. Did it feel like that, Ben? I never got any energy out of the Badgers on Saturday.
No, and I was very hungover, so how the game was going did not help.
Hungover from the night before. There you have it.
It's a Saturday morning game. I mean, what do you expect?
Yep. Well, you know, like I said, I was walking around down in Chicago. We were doing a little shopping and trying to get away from the contact buzz from standing on the street corner, and got a chance to watch that game for a little bit. But it just seemed like the energy. I don't know what it is about Value City Arena too. There's a darkness to it. It's a weird arena. I don't want to say it's a tough place to play because all courts are the same for the most part, but it's just a weird lighting scenario. You know, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. Sometimes places can set a mood, and that place has never set a mood. Just never has. Even going back to the old Fieldhouse. The old Fieldhouse was a dump, but it just never had any energy. 877-867-1670. When we come back, going to hear some comments from Aaron Rodgers, who spoke to the media. Didn't get a chance to talk a little bit about that from yesterday and some of his discussion. And then coming up in the last hour of the program, we'll hear a little bit from Devante Adams as well. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho,
Come on, Santa. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Replace your leaking windows and doors now so you and Mrs. Claus can get in on 5 years, no interest, plus 5 months, no first payment.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, my elves install year-round in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
And get this, a 2020 survey rated Pella Windows #1 for highest value, highest quality, and most preferred by Green Bay and Milwaukee homeowners.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Pella now, pay later.
Absolutely, but only through December 31st. Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or call 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See show for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers holding practice, working on a game plan to face the Baltimore Ravens Sunday at 3:25. Aaron Rodgers sat out practice again, and he talked about when he re-aggravated that fractured toe injury in the Bears game on Sunday night.
I felt like there was a tackle, and going back and watching the tape, it seemed like there was a tackle in the first quarter that I remember that bothered me for sure. It was a 3rd and long, and I got kind of tackled from the side. And it seemed like after that, I kind of had some pain, the rest of the game. It's a toe, so there's only so many things you can do. A lot of it's just icing and contrast and heating, and there's not a whole lot you can do. It's a bone stem and different things. So, I'd like to get out there to practice. To me, other than Friday, it doesn't seem like a strong possibility. We'll see. We'll see when I wake up in the morning.
Jordan Love is back at practice and ran the team at quarterback after missing last week with COVID. Several key players and coaches in the NFL are out this week because of the coronavirus. Last year, the Ravens had to postpone their game against the Steelers when 30 of their players and coaches had tested positive. Head coach John Harbaugh.
We're following all the COVID protocols that the NFL's put forth 100%. I'd say 120%. We've been extra cautious. We separate guys whenever we think there's any possibility of anything. You just do the best you can. We've been through it before. We understand how challenging it is, and we're trying our best, and that's where we're at.
And Packers tight end coach Justin Uten missed the Bears game after testing positive, but now he's back. How does he feel?
Great. Phenomenal. 2 bye weeks. It's been awesome.
That's Packers tight end coach Justin Uten. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back to the program, the Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Glad to have you today. Aaron Rodgers, going back to the game on Sunday night, yesterday meeting with the media, he talks about that 38-yard touchdown pass to Devante. That was late in the second quarter, and he drew it up in his hand. And does stuff like that, we talk so much about the burning of timeouts and play clock management, and there's some things that drive me crazy, but this is where Rodgers kind of looks at Devante and says, hey, let's just do this, and this is going to work. Does it bother Matt LaFleur at all?
I don't think it ever bothers them when it turns out like that. It just comes down to making sure the execution is on point. That happens a lot in the 2-minute because there'll be a conglomeration of thoughts that come together in a short amount of time. And in that situation, we had just called timeout. I just hit Allen on a kind of a vertical peak, gone right to run, called timeout, and was thinking about how I can get Marquez and Tay on the same side while we give a little help to Dennis to make sure he's comfortable. He just came in the game a little bit before that. And then put Devante in a spot and give him a route that he hasn't run very often, which would be counter to the expected route from that position. So just kind of put that all together in a short amount of time. And it thankfully worked to perfection. Now, again, it had to take Marquez clearing out on that side. Devante doing a good job with his route, taking his eyes back. We had a nice chip on the right side that slowed down the rush on the right side. We held up strong on the left side. And then obviously had to throw a good ball, and Devante had to make somebody miss. But there's a lot of trust. And I think early on in the relationship, I remember distinctly a conversation with Matt about the 2-minute that we laugh about from time to time now. But it's proven, the trust takes a while to be fully mature, I think, on both sides. And it just involves a lot of communication, and then plays, like we had early in our time where I had to trust the call coming in and schematics of that, and he had to trust the adjustments or how my brain saw a certain play, and it's been fun for that to come together.
So Aaron Rodgers was asked, look, he's got 439 touchdown passes, and he could possibly pass Favre, who had 442. He's only 3 away. So what would it mean to him to gain the Green Bay Packers all-time touchdown passing record?
Yeah, that one definitely would mean a lot as well. I remember years and years ago looking at the program. We used to always get the program in our locker, and kind of my daily game day routine was to come in and put my pads on my put my jersey on my shoulder pads, put my pads in my pants, and then read the program. On the road a lot too. Always interested in what the opposing team and what our own PR team decided to put in the program. There'd be articles in there about players and historical context on certain things, and alumni information, and then records as well. And I remember, I'd go through the records, and by the time I was maybe a third or fourth year starter, there was a couple. My name was in black. Kind of some of those records as I started to put up some numbers. I remember looking at the amount of touchdowns that Favre had and thinking, oh my God, I mean, I'm not even at 100 yet. How could I ever play long enough to be in the same category as that? But obviously I've been able to stay pretty healthy and have some sustained success, and that's a special one just because the history of the franchise and how long our franchise has been around and how many great players have come through here. And the opportunity to be here, 17 years and the longevity records, as Favre, I remember, used to talk about when he was here, to be a part of some of those, it's pretty cool.
So Aaron Rodgers, he talked about how he can throw 4 touchdowns against the Bears. And, we keep talking about what it means for him to get practice reps, but he's doing this without practice. He got a QBR of 141.1. Without all the reps and doing all of this week in and week out. 6 weeks now, going on 7, without taking a practice rep, basically because of that toe, a meaningful practice rep. How can he continue to do this?
Well, as Allen Iverson once famously talked about practice, maybe there's some other things involved in preparation. I've always been somebody that enjoys the practice environment and the competition of practice. I mean, I love competing in any situation, and I enjoy certain parts about Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, especially depending on what the install is. But there's a routine to it that's great and helps you feel comfortable going to the game. Because of the situation with my toe, obviously I've had to come up with a different routine that's worked for me to get me in the right headspace to play well on game day. And I think there's been, just a good balance between the mental reps and the read, and then on the space, and not ideal, but I've been able to embrace it and simplify things. I think Matt's done a nice job of really talking to me about what I like and what I think is going to get me in the best rhythm early on, and looking at some of those concepts. And then it just comes out to a couple of those games were at home, and obviously we've had a great home record here, and so that's been obviously helpful. But it just comes down to a rhythm, and when I can get in that rhythm, and I've had stretches, regardless whether I'm practicing or not, where I've gotten into some of those real good flow states consistently, and had stretches like this before.
So the thought process has changed a lot in the NFL this season, and the fact that guys say, through the metrics, are going for it on 4th down. So he talks about going for it on 4th down as well.
Right. I think that's a trend across the league. I know I've seen a stat. I can't remember if it was on Sunday night or Monday Night Football or one of those where it was talking about the number of 4th down attempts that are around the league this year. And that's obviously up. I think a big part of that's analytics. As analytics continues to creep farther and farther in our game, people realize how important those 4th down conversions can be to scoring points in that drive and ultimately winning football games. So people are more eager to have it be 4-down territory in certain spots, realize how important a touchdown is compared to a field goal when winning football games. I love the 4th and 2 call. Not just the call, the play call. That was a great call, but the decision to go for. I think was a fantastic aggressive call. I feel like we were pretty aggressive. I don't know where we would have ranked over Mike's time here on fourth down. Going for a percentage, but I felt like we were pretty aggressive, especially crossing the 50. I mean, we definitely would take our shots from time to time, but that's the way of the league, and you gotta keep up. I think fourth downs are such an important part of the game, and I like us being aggressive.
Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to kind of hear the rest of what Aaron had to say. Got some Devante Adams coming up as well. But you've also got a game coming up tonight, reminding you that you've got the Kansas City Chiefs on the road at 9-4, taking on the LA Chargers out at SoFi, and got that game coming up. Then you got Saturday games. Pretty excited about this. You've got the return of Saturday Night Football for the NFL. The Raiders on the road taking on the Browns. The Patriots and the Colts. That'll be a good game. 7:15 Central Time coming up this Saturday night as well. So you got some good stuff, and then obviously some good games on the docket this weekend. It doesn't look like the Cardinals are going to run into much of a match. They've got the Lions in Detroit. The Packers, though, on the road with the best record and the top team in the NFC, taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Going to have to do it without Kenny Clark, who is on the COVID list, most likely not to return. Doesn't mean he can't. Maybe, I don't know what the protocol would happen to be at this point, but most likely without Kenny Clark this weekend. That's the breaking news of the day. We got a lot more coming up. Another hour yet to go. Don't forget, coming up tonight, we're going to be at Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill out in Pewaukee. It's the Bill Michaels Huddle presented by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Also, the Monday night game, terrible. The Vikings on the road against the Bears. I'm going to watch it, but terrible game. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Another hour yet to go right after this.
This is the Wisconsin Sports Zone Update.
Well, the Packers would be the top seed in the NFC if the playoffs started today. They don't, though. There's still 4 games left, including Sunday's tilt at Baltimore. So how can the team hold on to that number 1 seed? Here's wide receiver Devante Adams.
Want to come and do the same thing you've been doing that got us to this point. And if anything, just elevate more intensity, the way you go about your business. The intent has to be there with everything you do. So I think that's what we're starting to lock in on. Take advantage of some of these Wednesdays when we don't have as much beating up on the body and it's more above the neck. So just really the focus is the biggest part right now, just keeping up with our bodies because obviously we're so banged up.
There was some good news on the injury front yesterday. Quarterback Jair Alexander began his 2nd week of practice as he tries to return from a shoulder injury that's kept him out since week 4. Tackle David Bakhtiari also out of the field for practice for the first time since having arthroscopic surgery on the same knee in which he tore his ACL last December. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers did not practice due to his toe injury, but there's a chance he could Friday against Gibby Packers and Ravens on Sunday. Turning to the Badgers, they signed 14 players in their 2022 recruiting class yesterday, including the top player in the state in Joe Brunner and the top defensive player in the state in Isaac Ham. Wisconsin going to face Arizona State in the Las Vegas Bowl on December 30th.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the 3rd largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the shorthanded Bucks beat the Pacers last night. Milwaukee played without Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, but got 26 points and 14 assists from Drew Holiday in the win. And the Badgers beat Nicholls State 71-68. Johnny Davis didn't play due to an illness. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Final hour on this Thursday of a very windy Bill Michaels Show. I have been watching steadily as the winds have died down, I guess, a little bit. I don't know if they're still howling where you live. It's still breezy. Don't get me wrong. And the tiki hut has remained intact, but everything around it is pretty much in shambles. However, at least for the most part, we've survived today without losing power, which is good. Although I lost it here last night. I don't know about where you live, but it was brutal. A lot of trees snapped. I was out driving around earlier this morning, running a few errands, and it was trees down and branches down. And today was garbage day for many, and saw the big dumpsters flying across the street. So you might have had to run. Once your dumpster was empty, you might have had to run down the block to go pick up your garbage can. But beyond that, not as awful as I thought it might end up being. So thank God for that. And as Paul Charchian said earlier, they had 60 plus degrees yesterday, then rain, then tornadoes, then the winds behind that, then the temperature dropped, then they had more precipitation and snow. You're talking about running the gamut in a 24-hour period. It's like, holy mackerel. Man, oh man. Jamie says, no Jackson this weekend would be huge for the Green Bay Packers. Now, Lamar Jackson, for those that are just tuning in, did not practice again today. We'll wait and see what happens tomorrow, but he has that sprained ankle from playing in Cleveland last week. So we'll wait and see if he's actually able to go or not. I got to assume that he's going to go, probably get shot up and, but not going to be nearly as mobile, which bodes well. No Kenny Clark. If you're just tuning us in, Kenny Clark on the COVID list today. And COVID has really began to run rampant. It really has. Wayne 2121 hits us up over on Twitter and says at some point it's going to be time to just throw out the current protocols. It is a complete eyewash at this time, and the rules are now keeping players out, not their health. This is not the same as last year. Without getting into all the COVID numbers, the numbers are actually higher now than they were last year. But with the different variant, whether it's Delta or Omicron or whatever it's called, I can't remember off the top of my head. I was calling it something wrong, so I don't want to repeat it and be wrong again. But with all of that going on, I think actually the numbers are higher right now. It's just, and to many credit, they're not shutting down businesses and such like they did last year. But it's, it is what it is. I mean, they're trying not to have this thing spread through teams. And whether it's a variant of the flu or of COVID or whatever it happens to be, you want to keep people that could possibly be sick or bring illness into your locker room out. You don't want your whole team coming down with something. So I know the NBA they've really been hit hard with Giannis being out right now as well. The NBA's been hit really, really hard by COVID. I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen. I really don't. I don't know what's going to happen because there are talks of yet already. Now, we just got used to the Delta variant, and then all of a sudden you get into the Omicron, I think is what it's called, the Omicron variant. They're talking already that there's another variant out there, that the fourth variant of this will hit. So, and the hospitalization rates are higher right now and such. So, and now they're talking about after the holidays, because you wait 2 weeks after the holidays as, people gather and unknowingly, unwittingly spread, more. And I don't know. I don't even plan to know all of this stuff, but you just hope everybody stays healthy. If you do get it, don't spread it, do what you can, go back to being very vigilant. But yeah, this is not good and I don't know what Super Bowl is going to bring. Mike Clemens and I were just talking about this because we've been, 11, 12 straight years to Super Bowl until last year when basically it was shut down. There was very few fans allowed in and they didn't have a Radio Row. But Los Angeles is where the Super Bowl is taking place this year. And they haven't even come out with plans yet. Now, usually at this point, we already have our house, we have our airfare, we have everything in line, we're ready to go. And we don't know. even if, let's say, the Packers go to the Super Bowl, which we all hope they do, we don't even know what we're going to be allowed to cover yet, because California, LA specifically, is one of the areas that is still being considered to shut it all back down. Chicago, I said Chicago has mask mandates and indoor gathering restrictions, even though they don't, police them as vigilantly as, although the masks they do. But so I don't know. And you can't bring in a bunch of these elderly Hall of Famers that usually walk around Radio Row. Others don't want to do it. They'd rather do it virtually. So we don't know. We don't know what it's going to hold. Just kind of waiting to find out. And whether you talk to the Packers or the NFL, they just kind of go, we'll wait and see. So we don't know what it's going to be. I do know we want to go out and cover the Brewers this year. Want to go back out to spring training. We want to get back out there. But we still don't know what that's going to entail. So,
or if baseball will exist.
Or, well, that's the other aspect of that. Whether or not baseball is even going to exist, because we know that they want to move in the right direction and try to get a season underway. But, you still got to wait and see if that's going to happen. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, do it. Again, 877-867-1670. This is from Mark, who says, do you believe that the Packers will be the representative for the NFC, or will something cost them? I think, look, what if I say yes? What if it doesn't mean anything? I get where you're coming from. Hey, can you tell me that the Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl? Yeah, I can tell you that. Because I think they're one of the best teams, if not the best team overall. I mean, if you go by my power rankings, and we haven't done that this week, only for the fact that I was off, I believe the Packers are the best team in football. But they're also a team that week to week to week is eroding steadily. And I got to plead complete ignorance at this point. And so, Ben, I'm going to go to you. What was the prognosis of Billy Turner?
Not great, but not season ending immediately.
Okay, I heard he was being reevaluated. Yeah, I heard he was being reevaluated, but I wasn't sure if they had reevaluated him or not.
I think I have LaFleur's comments on it, if you give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to hear that, because I admittedly, I came back and was just catching up watching the game from the weekend. So I know that, that Billy Turner went down with the injury. I know that they had said that they were getting another opinion, which is never good. It's never going to be like, oh, by the way, he's going to be back this week. This is what Matt LaFleur had to say about Billy Turner.
We're still kind of going through the evaluation process, but certainly we're hopeful for that.
There you go.
He was asked if he'll be able to return.
So they're hopeful that he will. I mean, hitting the line all along. They've had their top linemen together at the same time. Never. The offensive line has done a terrific job, unbelievable job of protecting Aaron Rodgers. They're doing okay when it comes to the run, but they just keep getting banged up. They just keep getting banged up. By the way, the latest update, Lamar Jackson considered, quote, day-to-day, questionable for the game, getting treatment around the clock on that ankle. Still a question mark as to whether or not he's actually going to play this weekend against the Packers. I would assume he is until, and I'm sure the Packers are as well, until you're told he's out, you would assume he's going to be playing. But going back to the Packers offensive line, David Bakhtiari was on the PUP list. We all knew he wasn't going to be coming back anytime soon. He considered one of the best pass blockers in the league when he's healthy. But they moved Elton Jenkins to left tackle until Bakhtiari was ready to return. Jenkins did a fantastic job. He missed a few games with that ankle injury as well. And then he ends up having a season-ending knee injury. Josh Myers goes down. Yosh Nijman goes to left tackle, although he had never started a game in his career at left tackle. He did a pretty solid job against some decent pass rushers. And they did have to help him a little bit at times by keeping the tight ends in, which changed the offense. Then John Runyon was originally set to be a backup, but assumed the starting left guard position in week 2. He's played every game since then, he's done a steady job there. Josh Myers, as I had mentioned, goes down. Had a finger injury, knee injury, gone. Royce Newman started every game at right guard. He's yet to miss a snap this season. And while he got off to a slow start, his play is picked up. And I had mentioned Billy Turner. He goes down with the injury. They have not said, as you heard, how long he's going to be out. You got veteran Dennis Kelly stepping in. He's played well in 42 snaps against Chicago. But he did not allow a sack or a pressure. So solid game there. But Kelly started all 16 games for the Titans. We all know that. So you got, let's see here. What happens if there's any more injuries along the offensive line? Right now, the backup center would be the second-year man, Jake Hansen. And not even clear if he's ready to go. The other remaining backup offensive lineman would be swingman Ben Braden. But he's only played 4 snaps on the offense in his NFL career. They do have 3 offensive linemen on the practice squad. But, I mean, and the Packers are hoping Bakhtiari can return to the lineup, in the next couple of weeks. But they're down to nothing, man. So going back to my original point, I think the Packers are the best team in football. But they're eroding steadily. Piece by piece by piece by piece. And the biggest thing that you have to remember is the offensive line, yeah, they're doing a great job. And Stenovich and Butkus have done fantastic working with these guys. But at some point, it only takes one. And I don't want to sit here and cast gloom and doom on the Green Bay Packers because I think they're great. But they're great as long as Aaron Rodgers is under center. It only takes one missed block for this guy to go down. So the erosion of the offensive line so far, knock on wood, and I'm knocking on wood, has been steady, but it has not been detrimental. You just got to hope that they get Bakhtiari back. Maybe Josh Myers comes back. You get a couple of these guys back just to give them not only stability in the starting lineup, but just depth, just to be able to get some guys some depth, some breathers. It's a mash unit. And that doesn't even get into the fact that they've lost, now Kenny Clark has COVID, so he's on the list. And, you're hoping to get Jair back and maybe your defense can carry you and take some pressure off of that offensive line. But, man, this is just a banged up football team. Such a banged up football team. 877-867-1670. When we come back, going to hear more from Aaron Rodgers. Got some Devante Adams coming up as well. We're not done yet. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
This season, yeah, I think so, but I think we're still kind of going through everything to see where he's at.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Glad to be hanging out with you today. So that was Matt LaFleur yesterday on whether or not he thought Billy Turner would be able to return. They're hopeful that he will. In the meantime, Aaron Rodgers was asked yesterday because they've got young offensive linemen. The first 15 plays of offense, they've been scripting the first 15 on offense. And with 3 young guys on the offensive line, what they're trying to do is get these guys to just get into a rhythm, to get into a settle. That way they're not overthinking it. You're just kind of going out and doing your thing. You feel comfortable right out of the chute. And Aaron Rodgers talks about scripting the first 15 plays.
Well, I think it's not like it maybe used to be when you hear about some of the West Coast stuff where they would legitimately script the first 15 plays. Now and Mike morphed to this really, pretty quickly in his time. It's more thoughts, ideas that you like on first and second downs. And you can bounce around a bunch in those situations, but it's some thoughts that you like for early in the game. I saw a stat that Tom showed me. I think last year we had a real high number of points in the first possessions, something over 70, close to the top or leading the league. And this year I think we have 20 points. Maybe that could be wrong, but we haven't been very effective early in the game as we have in years past. Now, obviously, we had a nice second quarter the other night, but we need to execute a little bit better starting the game and start a little faster, especially as we move into these critical games where it's going to be win or go home. So that's something we got to focus on. As far as getting the guys ready, we're ready. We walk through the first thoughts. We talk about them night before a game. And so everybody knows kind of what's coming early in the game. It just comes down to execution. And a lot of times it's lining up stuff, and then there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason. Sometimes you call in certain plays, certain coverages, and you get it. Sometimes you call certain plays that you don't get the coverage you're really wanting on certain things, and a play that could be a touchdown play versus certain coverage becomes a check down play, or a kind of a throwaway play. So that's kind of the issues sometimes you deal with. Teams play us a certain way that's often different than the percentages of how they play other teams coming in.
So the question, Aaron Rodgers looked at toe. The toe has been the issue for the last 5, 6, 7 weeks. We all know that since he had the COVID list. So and that's been the discussion as to how he's doing this on a bad toe. And he was not going to have surgery and opted out. And he's kind of changed his mind. And some of the questions were, okay, what are you thinking right now? And why are you changing your mind possibly regarding surgery in the toe?
It's not desired for sure. It's more the fact that it really keeps that toe in place. The type of surgery it would be to avoid any further displacement of the fracture. but it really would lock that into just a straight out, situation. And I just believe that when you're dealing with areas of the body, this is, not just my belief. This is the belief of Bob and, second and third opinions, that when you're dealing with an area that has low blood flow already, your end of your extremities, that doing that is something that would be kind of, if it was absolutely necessary. So it'd be nice to avoid that. Can't avoid, a lot of the stuff that happens on game day. You can just, do your best during the week, hope for the healing that we need. We're getting later in the weeks here since the initial injury. So it'd be nice to really have some final healing, but there's always going to be potential setbacks when I'm playing on it. And if we can have a week where we avoid any major ones, I think we can get past this. But if there's some major setbacks, then surgery is always kind of lurking there. It's just not desirable for myself or any of the people that I've consulted with.
So, which is kind of when the discussion came up about the toe and the fracture and getting it re-injured in the game against the Bears. My first thought was, man, if that thing's been re-injured and it's starting to move, you almost have to. You can't just tape it together or whatever it is, splint it or whatever. You almost have to go in and pin it. And it's not something that's going to keep him out, but it's something that adds inflammation. It's something that adds more pain management. That's not what you wanted to hear. You were hoping that those 2 weeks, not that it would have healed, but that it would have been strengthened enough to get through that Bears game and without injury. And then this week would have been another really good healing week. And unfortunately, it just not working out that way. Also, the weather, eventually it's going to be cold at Lambeau. We know that they don't play there this weekend. They're going to be back on Christmas Day against the Browns, but the weather at some point is going to turn. And when you talk about a run game, especially sealing a game away in that late third, early fourth quarter, it's good to have a running back like A.J. Dillon. He talks about that.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it's genetics. We look at some of the guys that we've had here that have been great cool weather backs, all kind of got similar body types. I'm talking about Amon Green and Ryan Grant, Eddie Lacy. They're all kind of built the same as AJ. Nobody has the quads that he does, but big lower halves, strong runners, one-cut guys who can deliver a blow. That's those guys. So AJ's in that same mold. It's also a balance. I think about, AG, balance, run, and good outrun. Ryan Grant, be like a thoroughbred. I felt like he was always such a high runner without contact and incredible one-cut guy, but also could deliver a blow. And his feet were always underneath him. The same thing with Eddie. Maybe some of the best feet I've ever seen, other than my man Marshawn Lynch when I was around him at Cal. But Eddie's ability to always keep his feet underneath him was a huge asset when the field gets cold and slick. I think that's what AJ has learned to do even better this year. Is his feet underneath him, he's running behind his pads, and when you got guys that have agility, but are never too spread out with their balanced weight distribution and kind of gait, then you can have guys who can have success on the cold, slick fields of the winters of Lambeau Field.
So going back to the toe, Aaron Rodgers asked specifically, when did you aggravate that fractured toe against the Bears?
I felt like there was a tackle, and going back and watching the tape, it seemed like there was a tackle in the first quarter that I remember that bothered me for sure. It was a 3rd and long, and I got kind of tackled from the side. And it seemed like after that, I kind of had some pain, the rest of the game. It's feeling good. I mean, Mondays and Tuesdays is just light days for me, and it's a lot of rehab, both at the facility here and at home. It's a toe, so there's only so many things you can do. A lot of it's just icing and contrast and heating and getting the, tiny toe rub down. there's not a whole lot you can do. It's a bone stem and different things. So it's feeling kind of like it has last few weeks on a Wednesday. I'd like to get out there to practice. To me, other than Friday, it doesn't seem like a strong possibility tomorrow. But we'll see how I feel tomorrow when I come in. Last week I came in and felt amazing on Thursday and almost went out and practiced. But said I'm going to wait till Friday. This week, not quite feeling as well as I did last week. But, we'll see. We'll see when I wake up in the morning.
And last but not least, you got David Bakhtiari. We mentioned the offensive line. The offensive line continues to be eroding almost before our very eyes. So the question is, what did he think, about seeing David Bakhtiari back at practice yesterday and, just kind of getting the boost, thinking that maybe one of his guys are going to be back soon?
Yeah, that'd be nice to get the big giraffe back out there. He's obviously gone through a lot in his rehab, and there's been some definitely some low days for him and some contrasting better days. And I think he's in a lot better place now than when he was trying to come back the first time. So that's exciting. He seems to be, feeling a lot better with his knee and his recovery. And yeah, it'd be great to have him back. He's an all-pro player, and I think, we're not going to have maybe first team all pro expectations from snap number one, but 80% of the big giraffe is better than most of the guys in the league. So it'll be good to get him back out there for sure.
So there you go. That was Aaron Rodgers talking to the media. And, what do you say? They're scripting plays for young guys to get them into a rhythm. He's got a bad toe. He's still able to throw 4 touchdowns, get a quarterback rating of 141.1. I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about Tom Brady being the front runner for the MVP. I don't know how. You have to look at Rodgers' season, even though the numbers aren't eye-popping to where they're jumping off the page at you. But you look with this MASH unit and how they just continue to flow. Now, a lot of that, you can look at the kind of the twin minds, if you will, of Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, because they've been able to put together game plans that have made them unbelievably successful. But you just look at what happened the other night. Only 6 of 40 dropbacks on Sunday night, per Pro Football Focus, Aaron Rodgers was under pressure. That's it. 6 of 40 with a patchwork offensive line. I mean, you have to look at that and go, wow. That's because he's morphed into a better Peyton Manning. If you think about it, because Manning, the one thing you couldn't get to Manning because Manning got rid of the ball so quick. He saw where he wanted to go. He just took a step up, boom, got rid of it. Or quick drop, boom, got rid of it. And allowed his guys to do the extra work. So what Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur and Stenovich and everybody have been able to do between them all has been nothing but miraculous. 877-867-1670 if you want to hit us up, do it. Hey, don't forget, coming up tonight from 6 to 8, the Bill Michaels Huddle, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Back out on the road tonight. We're going to be at Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill on the lakefront of Pewaukee. And if you're in the area, come on by and say hi. Going to be it's a terrific place. Going to watch the game tonight, enjoy tonight. Maybe the holidays are starting to set in a little bit early for you. You've got football tonight, and don't forget, you've got football, NFL football coming up on Saturday afternoon and evening as well, as you get out and about and finish up your holiday shopping and all that kind of stuff. But don't forget the terrific place to check out Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Final couple of segments before we get out of here. Going to hear from Devante Adams coming up here in just a moment. But nevertheless, the Green Bay Packers back on the practice field today. And the the special. I mean, I'm just going through the special teams. The punting team allowed a 34-yard punt return. Malik Taylor comes back, muffs a kickoff out of bounds at his own 5. The kickoff team then allows a 40-yard return. Crosby kicks one out of bounds. The punt team allows a 97-yard, the longest punt return in Bears history, goes back for a touchdown. Then a 42-yard return. And Bojorquez, who I had praised, I mean, even Bojorquez had the 22-yard, shank. Then Amari Rodgers has one hitting, it hits him right in the face. And then the Packers muff the onside kick. It's just bad. I don't know how else to put it. It's just, this special teams is just awful. Even Devante Adams has gone and said, "Hey, look, I'll do it." And they're like, no. Devante Adams does, though, appreciate Matt LaFleur for allowing him to have a voice in the locker room and the ability to listen. Here's what he had to say.
He trusts my input a lot, so it makes me feel good as a player. It makes me feel good about the studying that I do. It just makes me want to dive into my stuff better because I know it's not all for nothing. Just a lot of guys with great input out there, but, you can have a head coach who say, "Hey, however I say is how we're going to do it and how we're going to rock." But he's real open and receptive to, my input in particular.
So this team, and I said it before, they're just as banged up gets. And we all know that right now they're the top team in the NFC. They're the top team in the National Football League. And if we would have said no Jenkins, no Myers, no Bakhtiari back, Jair gone, Za'Darius gone, guys banged up on and off throughout the year, COVID lists, all of that. Aaron Jones gone for a few games. Would we? There's no way this team's the best team, not only in their own division, because I thought maybe the Vikings might have caught them, but boy, that turned out to be a train wreck. Man, division listed as 4th to the divisions in the playoff. They're the best team in football. So what's the key to staying on top, not only in their own division, but in the NFC as the top seed?
Want to come and do the same thing you've been doing that got us to this point. And if anything, just elevate more intensity as far as, the way you go about your business, whether it's the intent has to be there with everything you do. So I think that's what we're starting to lock in on, take advantage of some of these Wednesdays when we don't have as much, beating up on the body and it's more above the neck. So just really the focus is the biggest part right now, and just keeping up with our bodies because obviously we're so banged up.
So we had heard from Aaron Rodgers earlier. He's got 439 touchdown passes as a Green Bay Packer. 442 Brett Favre has. He's 3 touchdowns away from tying, 4 from taking over as the franchise leader. So Devante Adams, you would expect Devante specifically in situations where they're in the red zone to start getting the football more, because I'm sure that combination is what Aaron Rodgers wants to not only tie it, but to break that record, right?
I'm sure he reminded me about the one to go up on Favre. So he let me know about that. So I wouldn't toss that one or just to hang on to it. But yeah, I'm sure he'll give me a little reminder, but I'll be on top of it.
So, hey, if you catch it, don't go wailing it into the crowd. Don't get rid of the ball. I want it. Keep it. Aaron Rodgers knows where he's at. What records and awards are most important to Devante, though?
The gold jacket is the most important as far as individual achievement. The rest is just, I'm just doing work on the way to getting that hardware that I'm most interested in. But I'm always thinking about the big picture.
How about that? He wants the gold jacket. He wants to be considered a Hall of Famer. When it comes to the wide receiving core, that's a crowded committee, man. That's tough. That takes incredibly special numbers. And then when you go back to last week, something that still sticks in his craw about getting better, but he was called for that pass interference, the offensive pass interference last week, and it still sticks with him.
I let the ref know that, and for some reason he thought I was joking around when I told him I don't push off. I'm like, yeah, I know you might hear this from a lot of people, but I don't like that call, man, because I don't touch the DB. I got a lot of stuff to worry about, and touching him and messing with him, whether it's hand fighting or whatever they try to say that I did, because I didn't. I mean, if you do a DNA test on that man's shoulder, there's nothing on it until he touched me. So if for whatever reason he was to just collapse, I would not be a suspect in that murder.
If he was to just collapse, I would not be a suspect in that murder. I didn't put my hands on him, man. He has a little bit more about that pass interference call.
I take pride in not putting my hands on the defensive back ever, or, if not ever, then not very often. So they definitely shocked me. I usually get the 99 on Madden consideration from the ref, but not that time.
This team, as he puts it, said, look, we just got to continue to try to get better, but special teams has to get better. That's where you got to put the check mark first.
I don't usually like to speak for other, sides of the ball, but that's something that we all know is kind of the elephant in the room is a little bit, but it has nothing to do, I don't think, with our coordinator. I just think guys got to just want it a little bit more and lock in and go out there and play their best ball.
So even Devante Adams, that's a little bit of a glimpse. That's a crack where you can see a little shimmer of light coming through there where you say, you know what? Other guys are now frustrated with this special teams unit, and guys have to just want. It's not necessarily about the coaching staff. It's about guys wanting it. That's a very soft-spoken, but very, very loud statement. He also says, look, there's been a few extra additions that have made big impacts with this team.
29, 59. I mean, those two guys, and then our whole O-line at this point has some experience just being so banged up. So I think guys have been thrusted into a few roles that they weren't really necessarily expecting and have stepped up. And then, some of the new guys that we got in free agency off the street, as Aaron likes to say, have stepped up and been some of the biggest players for us on our team.
So that's Devante Adams. And again, I want to talk a little bit about when we come back what he just said, because it rings very, very loud. It rings very loud. I think he's, again, this might be just the beginning if things don't get any better. Stay tuned. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
College hockey fans, college hockey returns to Milwaukee this December at Fiserv Forum, December 28th and 29th in the inaugural Quick Trip Holiday Face-Off, featuring the Wisconsin Badgers, Providence Friars, Bowling Green Falcons, and Yale Bulldogs. This two-day tournament will not be short on action. Tickets start at just $20 and are available through Ticketmaster.com. Be sure to follow Holiday Face-Off on Twitter for instant updates, promotions, and much more.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers practice indoors today due to the high winds in Wisconsin. Not present, nose tackle Kenny Clark. He's been added to the COVID list. He won't play Sunday against the Ravens. Aaron Rodgers sat out practice again, and he talked about when he re-aggravated that fractured toe injury in the Bears game on Sunday night.
I felt like there was a tackle, and going back and watching the tape, it seemed like there was a tackle in the first quarter that I remember that bothered me for sure. It was a 3rd and long, and I got kind of tackled from the side. And it seemed like after that, I kind of had some pain, the rest of the game. It's a toe, so there's only so many things you can do. A lot of it's just icing and contrast and heating, and there's not a whole lot you can do. It's a bone stem and different things. So, I'd like to get out there to practice. To me, other than Friday, it doesn't seem like a strong possibility. We'll see when I wake up in the morning.
Jordan Love is back at practice and ran the team at quarterback after missing last week with COVID. Several key players and coaches in the NFL are out this week because of the coronavirus. Last year, the Ravens had to postpone their game against the Steelers when 30 of their players and coaches had tested positive. Head coach John Harbaugh.
We're following all the COVID protocols that the NFL's put forth 100%. I'd say 120%. We've been extra cautious. We separate guys whenever we think there's any possibility of anything. You just do the best you can. We've been through it before. We understand how challenging it is, and we're trying our best, and that's where we're at.
And Packers tight end coach Justin Uten missed the Bears game after testing positive, but now he's back. How does he feel?
Great. Phenomenal. 2 bye weeks. It's been awesome.
That's Packers tight end coach Justin Uten. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Hey, hell of a season. I did not make a mention of it, but hell of a season for our friends from UW-Whitewater. They were at Perkins Stadium, and boy, I tell you what, their postseason 69, 45, and 51 they scored. Then Mary Hardin Baylor out of Texas came into town 24-7 and beat them, and their season comes to an end. But man, what a season it was, and another undefeated season for Coach Bullish, and an overall record of 13-1, 7-0 in the conference, and they were just spectacular again this year. Just fell a little bit short of reaching the ultimate goal, and that was getting a Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl invite and winning themselves another championship. So kudos to UW-Whitewater for a hell of a season again this year. Couple of things that I want to get to before we get out of here today. First of all, some good things came out of the game the other night, and just my notes in watching the Packers. First of all, the fact that the Bears early on in that contest were rushing Aaron Rodgers off the edge, and the offensive line was having a little bit of problem. They ended up kind of making a couple of adjustments and protecting Aaron Rodgers better. So in-game adjustments have been better. The one thing that drives me nuts, I will say, is clock management. Oh, my God. Oh, say a novena. The clock management at times is not good, but Aaron Rodgers has been getting the play in and getting to the line of scrimmage quicker, snapping the ball with a little bit more time on the clock. That I appreciate, but it seems like they just don't give a damn about wasting timeouts. Whether it's Matt LaFleur or Aaron Rodgers or the combination thereof, whatever, it's maddening at times. It's always been one of my big pet peeves. because especially in tight games, when you get into the postseason, you're going to need your timeouts. And at times they just waste them, especially when they were going to kick the field goal late in the ball game. I don't know why you call the timeout. Just take the 5-yard penalty. Who cares? But they wasted that one too. So there are times where it becomes a little bit maddening when it comes to timeouts. But it was good to see Aaron Jones back involved in the passing game. They used him with success. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and I had mentioned it a little bit earlier. He might be a better version of Peyton Manning. Not only is he throwing the ball long, but he can throw the ball with accuracy short, get rid of it quickly. I mean, there's so many things right now to his game when he looks even more on top of things than Peyton Manning did at this point in his career, which is why I never think that Father Time is going to all of a sudden grab you by the ankles in the next year or two. I still think that 42, 43 years older, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Oh, good possibility. More so. The probability, I think, more so than anything. So that's been solid. But, that's just some of the things to take. And, by the way, the one thing we didn't talk about in regards to special teams was a missed field goal or a missed PAT. Knock on wood. It looks like, at least for the time being, they have straightened that out. Everything else has gone to crap. But at least at this point, that has been something that it looks as if maybe it's been corrected a little bit. Now, this is from Dennis, who says, when you talk about, the Packers needing to hold player tryouts and you need to find a kicker who can get it out of the end zone. It's Mason Crosby can kick it to the end. On a windy night, it's tough, especially in cold weather. There's not a lot of kickers that are going to, easily put it out of the end zone. But when he kicked it out of bounds, I got to think that was an angular plan. It just ended up a couple of yards short and ended up going out of bounds. But I got to think, because special teams and the coverage has been so bad, what you're trying to do is kick it to one side of the field or the other to base the side as an additional coverage kind of around. So it's not about just booting it down to the ends. You'd love to be able to do that every time so you don't have to, create a return. In certain situations, especially playing at Lambeau Field, you're not going to be able to do that all the time. So that's the reason you kick it to a sideline and hope that a good catch and take off up the sideline, because you use the sideline as another man. You're basically 12 guys instead of 11 heading down the field because you've got a sideline pushing that returner back towards you. And it just didn't go as planned.
Or you hope you play the Packers and their guy just bats the ball out of bounds at the 5.
Right. That's true. For whatever reason, just smack it. I don't want it. Just get rid of the ball. Just didn't like it. But you had a punt team allows a 34-yard punt return. They muff the onside kick. Amari Rodgers has one hit him in the face. Malik Taylor drops one. The kickoff team allows a 40-yarder and a 42-yarder. The kickoff out of bounds. The 97-yard punt return for a touchdown. And Bojorquez just missing it, just shanking it off of his foot for 22, 24 yards or whatever it was. It was a calamity of errors. It is just an absolute S show when it comes to the Packers special teams. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Tomorrow, always a good day as we start to preview what's coming up for the weekend. I'm excited for Saturday Night Football, I'll tell you that. And we'll have Mike Clemens joining us tomorrow as well. So that's all coming up. I'm looking forward to it. You've got the bowl schedule. And I was being asked a little bit about this. But tomorrow, the bowl season is here. The Bahama Bowl gets underway. Are you geeked for the bowl season tomorrow? Beginning tomorrow, Ben?
Cannot wait.
Middle
Biggest
Tennessee
Bahama
and
Bowl
Toledo.
fan in the world.
Yeah. Middle Tennessee and
big
Toledo.
Toledo guy.
Yeah, there you go. Then on Saturday, the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl. Yeah, there's one for you. But you've got the bowl season getting underway tomorrow. So we'll keep you. I cannot believe that Jimmy Kimmel has a bowl. I'm still stunned by that. We got to do the Bill Michaels Bowl.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That and the Pat McAfee $40 million a year from FanDuel or whoever.
Yeah, we got to get. Yeah, well, I'll take $40 a year at this point. But bowl season gets underway tomorrow too. Hey, coming up tonight, we're going to be at Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill. Come on out and say hello if you're in the area near the Pewaukee Lake area. Pewaukee, the home of the Watts. Can't just say JJ anymore. Everybody's doing well. The home of the Watts. The home of yours truly as well. As a matter of fact, I actually live in the area of Pewaukee. So there you have it. So come on out and say hi tonight. Tonight, myself, Ebo, going to get it underway. 6 to 8, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Until then,